Alexa, turn on studio. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. President's Day, something like that. Welcome into Hoopsville. It is noon on the East Coast, 9 a.m. on the Pacific. So to those of you still waking up and getting going, hope you're enjoying your Joe as much as I am. That's a coffee of Joe, that is. Excuse me for the AMSR issues there. How are you? I'm Dave McHugh. Welcome into Hoopsville. We are 2 weeks away. I cannot believe I'm saying this. We are a fortnight away from talking about who's in the NCAA tournaments, who missed out, what those tournaments are going to be looking like, who might have the chance at a championship, and all of that. In 2 weeks, we've got to get from now to there. Eliminations, all of that stuff. It is insane. Conference tournaments are ready to run. We got a couple conferences that will start this week and weekend. And then next week, all the rest will join in. Sans the UAA, of course, who do not have one of those conference tournaments, as it were. By the way, just side note, had many conversations with UAA people about how would that get pulled off? Could that get pulled off? And I certainly understand the restrictions, never going to get in the way of that conversation. I would never assume they could pull it off. Not worth diving into and opening up that Pandora's box of the whys and the whos and the wheres and the whys and blah, blah, hows and all that right now. But it's certainly an interesting conversation about why they don't do it and why they couldn't do it. If you've got questions for us, email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Twitter at D3Hoopsville, hashtag Hoopsville. Of course, that's also for Instagram and Threads. We're on Blue Sky. I'm trying to use more Blue Sky every day. I'm trying. It's not very popular, but there are people there. So try not to ignore it. And of course, there's buymeacoffee.com/Hoopsville. Sign up for a membership and help us continue the work that we're doing. We've gotten some donations, most appreciative. But membership gets you access to the Top 25 Double Take Show, which will be out tonight live at 8:30. Ryan Scott on the men's side. And a guest we haven't had on in years and never had on to talk Top 25. From the Northeast, our good friend Howard Herman will join us. Now, my delay there was debating if I wanted to give that away. But Howard Herman will be joining us tonight, talk men's basketball in the Northeast. Great to have another voice on in regards to that. On the women's side, it'll be Riley Zayas and myself. Yes, I'm not a top 25 voter on the women's side, though I certainly keep my eye on it in case I'm asked. So I still try and do pay attention a wee bit. So I will be Riley's foil for this evening. And then this is how I think this is going to happen. I think our final top 25 double take show is going to be next week. I'm not sure we need to do one on March 2nd coming out since we're being focused hyperly on the NCAA tournaments. There's certainly maybe some, hey, new top 25 comes out and the tournament's coming up. This might be a perfect way to do dubious deep dive and debatable. So I'm still toying with it, and maybe I move it to Tuesday because Monday we're going to have that special brackets special, and looks like we're going to do it late afternoon, midday on the West Coast. To take advantage of the committee chairs and all of that. So no top 25 that evening, but maybe we do it Tuesday. I don't know. I'm still in the air on that. So potentially next week's our final top 25 double take show. Again, that's live and available on the archive for up to a week, only for Hoopsville members at buymeacoffee.com/Hoopsville. You can also see my new top 25, which I have submitted. Did it right before the show. For those of you who are interested, who are paying attention behind the scenes, sometimes I have it done and I go do 100 other things right after the show. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to get done. Or sometimes I'm just so busy leading up, I got to work on it after the show. This time, because I got such a busy week ahead, which we'll talk about in a minute, I got it done last night and then I let it simmer. I never like submitting my ballot the night before, because I don't know how much me being tired or not fully focused as I'd hope to be on a Sunday evening. You would think otherwise, but trust me, in a busy household, I don't want that to be my submission. And then I wake up the next day or midway through Monday going, oh, what did I do? So I waited, I let it simmer. And then when always great check is when I'm submitting it and I'm putting names in. This has happened a half a dozen times this year. Well, I'll be putting names in. I'll be like, no. That's not the order I want. Or, hey, hold on, I want to change that. So it's a good double check, especially after a couple of cups of coffee. Oh, yeah. I think that's my applause button. I'll have to double check that. That may not have been. I've got a little app that helps me with that, and I forgot to open it up. I'm trying to use more sound effects like our dear friend, Mr. Pat Coleman. That was the rim shot. There we go. Now we got some applause. Let's talk about, we got a few things to discuss, do we not? Let's talk about this week quickly since I alluded to it. It's going to be a busy week. We've got this show today, and then tonight we got the Top 25 show. We are going to do a show on Thursday at noon Eastern. We're already lined up our guests, most of them, for noon Eastern. Going to have some unique ones, by the way. One of the twists is we're going to literally take a look at a conference race for the number 1 seed against the 2 teams who are facing off on Saturday. Presumably, should they both get through Wednesday undefeated, as undefeated, winner takes the top seed in regular season championship. And they have same names, or similar names, I should say. I'll do that coming up on Thursday. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern, our exclusive Top 16s show. Yes, the reveal is no longer as exciting because we all know via NPI data that starts getting released every day this week that the NPI info is out there. We know the top 16s, but we're still going to talk about them, reveal them, put them out there, talk to the national committee chairs about some of the intricacies like the timing. Once teams know they're in the NCAA tournament, when do they get calls about travel and or hosting? When do they get, when do site reps get contacted? How do they get trained to be exactly how they, what they need to do at a site? All of the timing that leads up to game time on Friday. And then we'll also talk to them about the challenges of bracketing. Where do they start with the bracketing process? I don't think we've ever dove into where do you exactly start. Plus, we want to hear from you. Your questions for our committee chairs. What do you want to hear from our committee chairs? Show's coming up on the 19th. You got a chance to ask questions. If you wonder how the D3 tournaments are created or have a question for our committee chairs, email us hoopsville@d3sports.com. It's hoopsville@d3sports.com. We will get those questions compiled and get them ready to ask the committee chairs. Hey, if you've got a question that's similar to mine, I'll give you the credit. We'll put you up on a full screen, hopefully, if you get it in time. And get the question asked. So that's all coming up on Thursday. 7 p.m. Eastern time is when the show will start. And then after we talk to the committee chairs, Scott Peterson, representing the women's side, and Matt Snyder, representing the men's side, the data guys, will be coming on, talk about teams that are going to be dark horses or deep dive bid thieves, for example, or conference races that could change a lot of how we see bracketing or other things. We'll also talk about teams that could jump into the top 16, top 8, and top 4, which would all, dictate some hosting things, especially on the men's side. Remember, top 8 essentially should host the second weekend because it's going to be a single game that weekend. So that top 8 actually has a lot of meaning this year versus a top 4 in years past. Women have priority the first weekend. Men have priority the second weekend. We'll maybe get an answer from our committee chairs. We'll also indicate whether we're going to even have the idea of a dual weekend. The idea has been floated out there. I don't feel it's feasible. I don't think it's fair. I also don't think the Champs Committee will sign off ultimately because they aren't doing it in a lot of other sports. So there are some exceptions, not sports-wise, but location-wise. Which I also don't understand. I don't want to get into that deep rabbit hole now. I think that's something for the offseason to dive into. But my point being is a lot of that will come up. So Matt and Scott will be on to kind of dive into all of that and give us a good sense of what we need to watch in the following 10 days. And a reminder, if you are going to the NCAA tournament, just throw in, if you know you're going or you got an outside chance, get your paperwork in for hosting. Just put it in. It doesn't matter. You got nothing to lose here than a little bit of time to put the paperwork together. It's due Friday, end of business. Get it in. We've seen too many hosting decisions come down to a host not being available. Now, sometimes it's legitimately not available. We get that. But sometimes because they just didn't do their paperwork. And they said, well, we just never knew we'd be in the position to do so. Who cares? Put it in anyway. I know athletics directors who put in to bid no matter what, just to make sure that their paperwork's in for a team that maybe is third or fourth best in the pod, but maybe because of gender priorities and stuff, they got a host. Especially in the southeast of the U.S., by the way. Put in to host. Women are going to have to go somewhere, and the southeast portion of the U.S. is ripe for a hosting opportunity, so put your paperwork in. Lots to talk about today. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. My top 25 is in, which means I can look at other people's whose top 25s are now in. I try and avoid them. I don't want to usually deal with them because I don't want them to impact me. Listen, me personally, I don't like that top 25 voters put out their information before the top 25 comes out. Plain and simple. I don't like it. I think it can inadvertently or advertently, if that's actually how you say that, impact other voters. And I certainly don't want to be accused of impacting other voters. So my top 25 does not get posted even in the Buy Me a Coffee website or before online, before the top 25 comes out, which is why I do it the next day. As a result, anytime I see a top 25 ballot that pops up on socials, I scroll back past as quickly as possible so that I cannot read it. Just realized I do not have the YouTube page up and running. Apologies to you who may be watching the show right now there. I'm calling it up as we speak. I thought I had, and I had not done my due diligence, but it doesn't look like anybody's asked a question. There is another way to ask questions. You can do so right there in the chat room on YouTubers. Let's talk about our guest today. We've got a good group of them coming up. Mary Hardin-Baylor's Sam Patterson will be on the show to talk about his first season in charge of the Crew. This is a team I think is really dangerous and a team you may not want to see in the NCAA tournament, but I am still a little surprised they haven't put it all together. Had a pretty good weekend in Vegas with the upset of Redlands, for example, but stunningly, they just dropped the game this weekend in ASC play, the football schedule. So I'm curious his take on the team and what they've got and what their potential. Also, this absolutely wild ASC schedule. We'll talk to him coming up. Then we'll stay in the Central Time Zone to talk to Co-Women's Basketball, one of my favorite mascots, the Co-Hawks. Kayla Waskow will join us to talk about her squad, who's in a battle with Wartburg, half game back right now because of, how many games one have played. Wartburg will play one less than Co this week. They've split the regular season with Wartburg, so trying to finish atop the American Rivers Conference. Then we'll jump out to Rhode Island. Johnson & Wales women's basketball has the potential to put together the first back-to-back 20-win seasons in program history. Pretty significant, if I do say so myself. Dino Porcic will join us to talk about his program. And we always joke about how good the food is there, but hey, women's basketball not bad in Rhode Island. So we'll talk to the J&W head coach. Then we go to Arcadia. And this is funny because I debated about having the Twins back on the show because both Van Zelst are having pretty good seasons with their programs. But Arcadia men's basketball, Coach Adam Venzel will join us about Arcadia and their battle in the MAC Freedom and just how good things are in that conference. Well, I should say in that team and making the conference a little bit better. They get a lead on Stevens at the time. Our friend Grayson says, I have a question. I'm excited. Can the Lady Royals host in Scranton? Yes, Grayson, we've explained this many times. I love you to death, but yes, the women are going to host. I don't see a reason for Scranton men's team to host if they make the NCAA tournament. I don't think they're going to have the resume. I could be wrong on that, and things can change in the next 2 weeks. But I don't see a reason why Scranton women will not hosting. The only reason Scranton women will not host, well, there's two reasons. Two reasons they won't host. They absolutely implode in the rest of the season, meaning they lose out. They lose their 2 games this week, and they lose in the first round, which would be the semifinals in the Landmark Conference. So that's 3 straight losses. Somehow they plummet. They fall out of the top 16, but even then I don't think there's a reason they won't host. But you'd have to implode, and I think at this point that's not going to be enough. I still think they could host. And then the men have to be in a position to host on the opening weekend and get that priority. And I don't see the men's team being in a position to do so, which reminds me, I probably should have the latest NPI numbers up, shouldn't I? Apologies. I meant to have those up in front of me and I completely forgot. Give me a second. We'll have it here. Here we go. All right. On the men's side, landmark. I'm just going to jump right to the landmark. It's got to be pulled up. Give it a moment here. So again, all right. So Scranton is third in the landmark conference in the NPI at 88. So here, I was covering my bases and now I'm positive. The only reason Scranton women's basketball, well, I'm still going to hedge my bets. Okay, so the Scranton women's basketball have to absolutely freaking implode. They're sitting fifth in the top in the NPI right now. I would argue number one is Oshkosh with 2 losses. Then it's NYU, Johns Hopkins, WNL, Scranton. Scranton needs to lose out and fall apart and not be in a hosting position. Then their men can't be in a hosting position. Now, their men are not going to get in unless they win the conference title. So I think this is a moot point. But every once in a while, you're just in a situation where geography-wise, you need to find a host. Now, it's not because they got to shift the men's team. So like they did last year, and both York and Franklin and Marshall hosted last year. That's not in. So Scranton's men to host would have to come down to somehow you need a geography host because maybe a top seed didn't put into paper. I mean, we're talking extreme reasons. So the chances that the Scranton women's basketball team's not hosting the opening weekend, very tiny. Chances they're hosting the second weekend, that gets more dicey because you have Oshkosh, NYU, Hopkins, and WNL right now ahead of them in the top 4. If Scranton can't crack that top 4, I don't see a reason for them to host over Hopkins, over WNL, or over NYU, who they can all drive to. So Scranton opening weekend, yes. Scranton second weekend, it's gonna depend on how things play out the rest of the year of these 2 weeks. You know, does Oshkosh pick up another loss? Does Hopkins pick up a loss? Does WNL pick up a loss? And how does that impact things? In fact, let's see here. I'm kind of curious what they're saying here. So, and the D3 data guys are predicting Scranton, I think, to be 4th. So there is a chance they're predicting NYU. What the heck? This can't be right. This can't be right. I got to go talk to the guys because I can't find NYU on here on their predictions. I don't see them anywhere. So I'm a little confused. So they've got them 4th. I'm going to have to go to, let me circle back on that question. But as of now, yeah, no, they're definitely, I think they're definitely hosting opening weekend, Grayson. And we've mentioned that for a few weeks now. All right, got to take a break. I'm way late. We got to go. Coming up, men's basketball conversation with Mary Hardin-Baylor. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3 Hoops from the WBCA studios.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit nabc.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC 1927. That's nabc.com or NABC 1927 on social media.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all.
It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us, all of us.
To stop sexual assault. Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
If I lose, I'll respond with respect.
If I win, I'll back it up with humility.
If I fail, I'll rise up with honor. It's tough for us to put it all on the line.
Don't undo my hard work with poor sportsmanship.
Respect. It's the name of the game.
Coach of the Year, Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
I used to never really talk, ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. As we roll along, hope you're enjoying the show. Grayson had a good question that kind of derailed me there a little bit at the end of that first segment. But if you got questions, jump in our live chat or join us on the socials. We'll try and keep track as best we can, wherever we can, to any questions that may come along. Ryan Scott and or maybe it was Matt Snyder put out an interesting pod, by the way, that came down to this. Does a conference like the SCIAC want to host an opening weekend pod or make sure that their two teams, if let's say they get two in, don't face each other in the second round? It's almost like you can't have both. Right? You can't have your cake and eat it too. That's a dangerous one. I think we've seen some hosting out in the SCIAC. I think that's a terrific idea. But yeah, the idea is, well, we got to fly two teams to you or we can fly you two out. I think that's what it might come down to. Good debate there. Speaking of the Region 10, though, if you look to the American Southwest Conference, you might be a little confused. Teams are only 5 games into their conference play. Yeah, they're playing the football schedule out there in the American Southwest Conference, where they play every Saturday. Not sure if that's good or bad, but it's certainly slowed down the schedule a wee bit. For Mary Hardin-Baylor, they have won 4 of their last 6. We got to see them in Vegas, where they knocked off Ohio Northern in a bit of a grinder of a game, and then rallied from, I think it was 15 down at halftime against Redlands, took on the third quarter, and I'm going to start saying third quarter more often because I think we're going to get to quarters eventually. Dominated the third quarter, and by the end of that point of the game, they were tied with Redlands, went on to win 104-97. The night after, Redlands had set the scoring record for the D3Hoops.com Classic at 102. Yeah, this is one of those classic Mary Hardin-Baylor said, hold my drink. We're ready for this. But they're under a first-year head coach, and I think there's a lot of high expectations with the program. What does it all mean? How does it all play out? Sam Patterson joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline to discuss his Crusaders. Sam, good to see you. Thanks for taking the time today.
Appreciate it, Dave. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Great to see you in Vegas. I know you adopted that schedule when you took over the program. Again, Ohio Northern and Redlands, a pretty good matchup in, say the least. You guys came in after kind of having a tough start to this season. So that was an interesting midseason test. Just give us kind of the barometer of that first half.
Yeah, I mean, when we only have a limited number of conference games, we had to go out and get 19 non-conference games. And so we wanted to put together a really competitive non-conference schedule. And I think at the peak of that was that Vegas trip there. And, we did get off to a slower start. We were 4-4 through our first 8 games. And then since then, I think we're 13-3. So a lot of that had to do with just first year myself. We brought in 10 newcomers. The 10 guys returning didn't have a large role on the team the previous year, so just trying to understand each other, trying to understand rotations and how we want to get going. And then, I think we had a really good road trip to the Northwest when we played Whitman and Whitworth, and that kind of began a little bit of our momentum into that part of the non-conference slate. But really enjoyed our time in Vegas. I think we grew a lot as a team. We were able to win in 2 contrasting ways. That Ohio Northern game you mentioned, it's a really gritty game, really kind of a win ugly game. And then that Redlands game was a high flying, high tempo, high scoring game that is a lot kind of how we like to play. So it was good for us to experience winning 2 different ways. And I think good teams have to be able to win outside of their comfort zone and find ways to win. And I think that trip allowed us to have that experience to be able to do that down the road a little bit more.
Again, back to the start. I mean, you played Trinity, Texas twice in 8 games. You lose both, one by 8 and one by 5. Sandwich in there is a loss to a pretty good Laterno squad by 7. And then we also know a really good St. Thomas squad by 6. It's not like these games were out of hand. You were in them. And you got some key wins along the way. As you point out, the trip out to Northwest, beat Whitman by 2. That certainly raised a lot of eyebrows. You beat Concordia, Texas, who's having a good season after that by 14. And then you get to Vegas, and admittedly, I saw the first half against Redlands. I went, okay, this is how this game is exactly playing out how I thought. I thought Redlands was going to be a team that was better. You guys, okay, hey, it's not going to be as close as we hoped. I was on the call for the game, so I was kind of like, oh, that's unfortunate, right? I'm not going to be able to keep myself fully awake for the end of this game since I think it finished up the day of 6. But you guys came out storming. What was it about that second half that just clicked compared to that first half?
Well, I mean, Redlands is ultra talented, and they have Division I level length and athleticism, and they're just a big team, and they're very skilled. And I think going into the locker room, we had kind of had some self-inflicted turnovers there going into halftime that led to I think a quick 5-0 run for them to go up 15 or 12, whatever it was. And so the message at halftime was just let's clean up the turnovers. And we adjusted a little bit in the press break, but at the end of the day, I think our guys have continued to fight through adversity, and we haven't had great first halves, but we've had really, really good second halves. And we're just a tough team when it comes to responding the way that they need to respond when a little bit of adversity hits. And I think you've seen that in a lot of our wins this year. We were down big at the half at Whitworth, and we were down big against Redlands and Hardin-Simmons and a bunch of these games. We've had really good second halves, and it's just a credit to the toughness that our guys show and the response that they have at halftime. And I just want to keep energy high at halftime and positive, especially I think when you're playing an opponent like Redlands and you're down at the half. I think you can kind of approach that time one of 2 ways. And I'm more about let's find the positives and find 1 or 2 specific areas we can tweak and adjust, and then let our players play with freedom that second half and try to get on a run. And I think our run that early in that second half, when we got it down to single digits and then tied it, then I think you saw the momentum swing, and our guys, when they have confidence, can shoot and play with anybody.
Oh, absolutely. Interesting enough, you come out of that a few days later, had another game with Concordia at home, lost it by 1, moving on, had a trip out to Virginia where you beat Salisbury, and then had a really good game against Christopher Newport, losing by 5. And then your latest loss is Hardin-Simmons after playing them just the week before in an overtime game. 3-point win followed by a 6-point loss. this is where I feel like this team's still trying to figure some things out. You guys have had moments to kind of put your foot down on things and it slips away. Is that a fair assessment? Are you guys still trying to work out some kinks here with the last game of the season coming up?
Absolutely. And that's been our message from August 11th when we started. Is I've been in a one bid league in the Summit League at Division I for 8 years, where it comes down to that last week of the conference tournament. And I've been on teams that peak in December and January, and you're on a downward slide towards the conference tournament. But I've also been on teams where you continue to find ways to improve and you're peaking at the right time. And that's been kind of our message from the beginning, is we're going to put ourselves in a position for a possible at-large based on the type of schedule that we put together. But at the end of the day, it does us no good if we peak on February 10th and then start to backpedal a little bit as you're going into the most important time of the year. So for us, turnovers is the big thing that we have to be able to limit and value the ball. I feel like we're such an efficient offensive team. If we can just get a shot up every possession and limit the turnovers, because we're the number 2 rebounding team in the country. And so for us, so much of our offensive is being able to get the offensive rebound, and we have relentless rebounders that crash the glass. And so that's why a turnover is almost a double whammy, because you don't get an opportunity to rebound it. So for us, that's one specific area I think we can continue to get better at these next 2 weeks, is just valuing the ball, putting a huge emphasis on high risk, high reward plays, and trying to hit singles and not home runs. Because we do have an efficient offense and we do have really talented guys that can go rebound the ball. Every shot attempt we have has a chance to go in, and it has a chance to get a rebound and putback. So, and usually those putbacks are in a high foul rate area. And so we just have to really be able to focus on taking care of the ball this last stretch of the season.
Your comment about the Summit League reminds me, you went away from a St. Thomas, then you had another St. Thomas at the end of November. Did you need directions to make sure you weren't heading to Minnesota for that game?
Man, yeah, both places are really tough to win at, no matter what level you're in. But Coach Tower is amazing, and just kind of the blueprint for that I've seen firsthand there in the Summit League, of just how you take a program, and at the end of the day, levels are levels, but players, there's so many Division I caliber players in the D3 level, and there's some D3 level players in the D1 level. And so with the transfer portal and the way that Coach Tower's done it there at St. Thomas in Minnesota, and then Coach Medina down in Houston, both really, really elite programs.
Yeah. He took a team that was pretty much full of only D3 starting and pretty much went and said hello to the Summit League emphatically. Shout out to we kind of wish they hadn't gone away. Yeah. I'm sure the Summit League maybe were not happy that they showed up. So you mentioned it, number 2 in rebounding. You're number 7 in defensive rebounding, 19th in 3-pointers per game, to your point. And a lot of this is what we saw in this Redlands game. Assists per game, top 40, top 45, and free throw attempts per game, as you pointed out. Rebounding margins, by the way, nearly top 30, and offensive boards are top 10. The scoring offense is the 13th best in Division III, which I think is what stands out to me. Defensive scoring, unfortunately, isn't. And you talk a little bit about the defense. I feel like for this team, you know how to get the boards. You know how to go out there and get free throws. You know how to go out there and score the offense. What do you need to do then, maybe to start slowing teams down a little bit? Or is that just going to come with the way you're playing as a style, and it's about more survival and just getting more points up?
A little bit of both. I mean, we're not a team. I know some teams like a Concordia that are all out all the time, 94 feet, and just going to make it a hectic game and a really, really high possession game. That's not us. Like we can operate in the half court. We'll push after misses and after turnovers, but we're not trying to play a 95 possession game. So for us defensively, it really comes down to, and I've mentioned it, but when we take care of the ball, it's going to eliminate a ton of easy runouts for the other team. And when we watched that Hardin-Simmons game that we won, we had 14 direct points that led to layups based on our turnovers, and we still won in overtime. So, that's an area, if we just cut that 14 in half, then you're not needing overtime to win those games. But defensively, we're more about what kind of shots are we giving up. We want to be able to take away your primary look and try to force guys to do something that they're not great at. And so, you look at field goal percent defense, we're not bad, 41% defensive field goal percentage, but I do think, we have to do a good job of playing without fouling. We're not great at opponents making free throws. And so those are kind of the analytics of things that I look at. But at the end of the day, for us, we want to, be able to get stops and play defensively to take away the other team's greatest strengths. But we're just as much as trying to outscore you as well and take efficient. And we want to put the gas pedal down and be the aggressor and run after misses. And that's kind of where we see our biggest runs in games is when we are getting stops, and then we're pretty lethal in transition, just having the ability of all five guys being able to run and score fast.
Talk about this team quickly. Obviously, it is senior laden. You've got 8 guys who are graduates or seniors. So basically, most of this team that is leading the way, Hudson Johnson leading the team at 20 points a game, Zach Engels at 15.6, Eliza Lawrence 11.6. Everybody who will graduate, Donta Cody as well at nearly 10 points a game, and of course, great rebounding from Engels as well. And these guys all do things pretty well. Lawrence might be the only one who's looking up at the rest of the guys going, geez, how do you shoot so well? When you got guys shooting 50% or better. So there's a little bit of all in. And right now, depending on which NPI you look at, and I say that a little tongue-in-cheek, folks will explain later, you are sitting kind of in the 40s, not necessarily a guarantee. So what do you have to do in ASC play? You got one game left. Tell me a little bit about this team in regards to that, and then you got the conference tournament.
Yeah, we've got one game left at home, senior day, against Howard Payne. And so you mentioned it. We're an older team, which is great for a first-year coach. To have some experience there.
Yes and no, right? You're losing them all too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in today's world, you just kind of go 9 months at a time anyway.
Fair.
But no, to be able to bring in guys like Hudson and guys like Elijah that are newcomers that just come in for 1 year with 1 year left, and then to add them to veterans like Ingles and Connor and Dante, it's been a great. I'm blessed to be around those guys, and winning, I feel like, means a lot to seniors. The old adage is freshmen want to play, sophomores want to start, juniors want all the individual accolades, and seniors just want to win. And I think that's our identity right now is we have a selfless team that wants to do whatever it takes to win. And they don't care about all the stats that go along with it. And so for us going into this last home game, 100% of the attention is on Howard Payne and being able to honor these seniors the right way for senior day. And then we'll see what happens. Hardin-Simmons kind of controls their destiny in terms of hosting the conference.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that because I'm not sure how it all breaks down.
So we're both 4-1. And so
split.
If we split, and they own the tiebreaker based on point differential.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
We won by 3 at our place. They won by 6 at their place. So
gotcha.
If they beat ETBU, then they would own the tiebreaker. Even though we would share a championship, they would host a conference tournament. So that's out of our hands. And really all we can control is we're still playing for a championship on Saturday, and that's in the forefront of our minds, and playing a really talented Howard Payne team that just had a really big win on Saturday against ETBU. So for us, we're not worried about the conference tournament until after the Howard Payne game, and then we'll just see where we end up playing it, if we host it or whether we go back to Abilene that following week.
Trying to double check. That's that's driving halfway across, roughly halfway across the state. I mean, it's no joke in terms of distance, so it's a big factor in that sense. But obviously, you won at their place, so No, I'm sorry. Lost at their place. I got it backwards. I can't read. It's a problem. I just wear the glasses for show.
One all week, so.
Yeah. Quickly, this one-off game schedule, football style. I know it's probably not ideal. You want to keep the team ticking along, but it also avoids injuries. It's got its pros and cons. Also, you got to load up the front half. What's your thoughts in your first year?
I don't mind it. What you want at the end of the year, I think, is health, and you want to be fresh. And I think this format allows you to be fresh and healthy as much as you can control that stuff. And so being able to have, 6 days in between games allows you to kind of form your week how you want to when it comes to rest and practice. Now, we had kind of that ice storm hit a few weeks ago that rescheduled everything this last week. So we played a Tuesday, Saturday, you mentioned, against the same opponent. So that was unique. The scouting was less on that Saturday game because you just played them a couple days before that. But when you get to this point in the year, you're so familiar with your opponents. It really comes down to details. How good are you in the details? Because conference games are just harder to win when you're so familiar with everybody's tendencies on the court. So I think our guys have been really good about focusing in on that scouting aspect of it. And I don't mind the format. I know there was discussion before I took the job of possibly playing everybody 3 times and cutting back on the number of non-conference games. But that would give somebody 2 home games and 1 road game. And I do think there was a little bit of not understanding how that would, you'd have to coin flip it if you did it that way. So I don't mind it. I like the round robin, two per opponent. So
the Snyder brothers could probably answer this better too on whether 3 games would make sense in terms of NPI numbers and how much it could hurt or help you all. Ultimately, you're playing an equal amount over 2 years. It's a Yodak who makes that argument with the way they do their scheduling too, and I think it works out. But the idea of 3 conference games is mind-numbing to me. Quick question before I let you go. We just saw football signed a deal with Keystone, and presumably Keystone's getting some money to come down to Mary Hardin-Baylor. Mary Hardin-Baylor will then return the favor the next year. Has there been any talk about that kind of stuff in other sports like basketballs where you guys have some money to maybe entice some teams to come to you in Texas or team up with another school, say a St. Thomas, and do some kind of basketball weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. I think doing scheduling for the last 20 years, money talks. And so to incentivize a trip down to Texas, we'd be happy to throw in some money to incentivize that. And then talking about doing classics with other teams in Texas. At the end of the day, there's about 3 or 4 teams, I feel like, in Texas that have to play each other every single year, just for MPI reasons. And I would have Concordia, I'd have Trinity, I'd have ourselves, I'd have Hardin-Simmons, in that kind of quadrant. And then you look at a Concordia and Laterno. Those are some teams that I think regionally make a lot of sense. And we're adding a couple teams to our league next year in Schreiner and McMurray. So we're going to go from 4 to 6. But I do think kind of that Trinity and St. Thomas and ourselves, like, we have to find a way to play each other every year because it benefits us, and iron sharpens iron, and we get better because of it. Even our loss at St. Thomas this year, I felt like it was a great experience for our guys to understand what a top 5 team in the country looks like, and to be within a couple possessions of them. Yeah, you don't want a moral victory, but you can build on losses as well. And so I think it's important in the non-conference scheduling, especially regionally, to have a handful of those teams just agree to play each other every year and rotate where it's at.
Well, Sam, I appreciate your perspective, especially first year in D3. I spend more time about diving into your history, but we'll do it another time for sure. But congrats on the season. Oh, those 5 losses, 2 of them been home. It's been good to be in Belton for sure, and you'll do so against Howard Payne to wrap things up. And then maybe hope that Hardin-Simmons trips and falls in the final game of the regular season. We have a tradition on the show. We always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Yeah, I just want to shout out I'm blessed to be at a Christian university, and we love to win basketball games, but more importantly, we want to win hearts for Jesus. And one of the highlights of the season had nothing to do with basketball. One of our players a couple weeks ago gave his life to Christ, and I had the opportunity to baptize him last week. And I just think it was an unbelievable opportunity for us as a staff and us as a program to disciple young men for Christ. And that's what we do here at UMHB, and it beats any kind of championship we could win because we're blessed to be able to share our faith and disciple young men for Christ. So I just wanted to end on that and just shout out Dan for his decision and his commitment to follow Christ, and we're grateful to be at a place that recognizes that.
Nice perspective, Sam. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Obviously, there's more than basketball, right? Especially in the Division III, we preach that, and it's more than basketball in a lot of ways. So I appreciate that perspective. Good luck the rest of the way. Look forward to maybe talk about the Crusaders come March. Either way, I have a feeling we'll talk to you in the near future. Take care.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it.
Sam Patterson joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. I didn't go into the history that he's had. We should point out he was a Baylor grad, so him coaching at Mary Hardin-Baylor just makes sense. It makes sense. He's at the better Baylor. We all know that. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll jump into women's basketball. We'll stay right in the central time zone and go straight north. We'll go talk to the Co-Hawks at Co about their women's basketball play and the ARC up next. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA studios.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that. A lot more.
Sure, the game is important. But as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. And in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else, and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com. The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit NABC.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC1927. That's NABC.com or NABC1927 on social media.
Responsibility is being accountable for your words and actions, first and foremost. It also is an obligation to be a positive influence in the communities around you. Being in a D3 program, you're going to have lots of different opportunities. You're not just an athlete, you're also involved in student life. Your academics are extremely important. We give a lot of our student athletes responsibilities right from the start by giving them leadership opportunities, by having them engage in the community, be a positive influence. That's being a responsible person.
There are over 480,000 college athletes. Only 2% would go pro. That means over 470,000 will not get a shoe contract. No autographs. No private jets. No fan clubs. No Hall of Fame inductions. Instead, they will walk away with something much more valuable.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. If you've got questions for us, email us, hoopsville at d3sports.com. That's hoopsville at d3sports.com. Speaking of which, email us if you got questions for the committee chairs. Talked exclusively to them. Coming up Thursday at 7 p.m. on our Top 16s show. Email us, hoopsville at d3sports.com. That's how you can get a hold of us and ask questions of us or our committee chairs. Women's basketball. Switching to now. And the American Rivers Conference is interesting. Half game back in first place are the Hawks. I love the mascot, but I get a little too fun saying it. Half game back of Wartburg simply because of schedules. will even that off this week as they've got games at Central and then against Simpson. The two have split the regular season against one another, which means it's going to come down to probably someone else in conference play. Well, that gets tricky when both teams have only lost to each other. We haven't dove down the rabbit hole, but Co's in a really good position possibly to come out with hosting opportunities. If not, they're going to play spoiler at least for a Wartburg team that's been good every single year. An alum in Kayla Waskow I keep saying it, or Co. No, I said it right. Waskow. I overthought it. See, that's what happens when you overthink things. She knows how good this team can be, what their potential might be, and so on and so forth. So join us on the Hoopsville Hotline to speak all about it is the Co graduate, Waskow. Coach, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave.
Hey, 19-4 this year, 13-1. I feel like when I dove in on, hey, when do we get Co on, when don't we? But it keep jumping out at me. This has been a consistently good team the last 4 seasons. 18 wins, 21 wins, 20 wins. Now 19 on the verge of another 20-win season. I guess where I want to start with this is we haven't seen this since the early 2010s. What is the consistency right now? How is this team come together? What's it like for a program that you've seen be here as a player?
Yeah, you're right. It was early 2010s when I played here that we were kind of in the mix with a lot of this, and then have really gotten ourselves to this spot the last few years. So going for our third straight 20-win season, which, is kind of the benchmark in college basketball. And I think for us, the consistency has just come from getting the right players in our program and buying into what we do. And this senior class has been huge. We got several that are, big pieces for us. And so for them to, average 20 wins a season is big. And so I think just takes confidence, takes building a little year by year. Our conference is always good. And so to put ourselves, in the mix at the top means that we've got a really good thing going.
And the other thing we should point out is you've kind of seen this ebb and flow. You were there. Yeah. The team was about 500. It stayed that way until COVID. Then it kind of slid off the rails a little bit. And then you've got it right back after 2 seasons. That's got to be a lot of work, too, and a lot of fight and trying to make sure that the program is here. Obviously, it comes down to recruiting, right? So what's been the selling point about your alma mater that is working and has gotten you to this point, and how do you continue it?
Yeah, I think it's for sure about recruiting and the players that you bring in, finding the right pieces that you need. I think just with our location, we're able to get a nice blend of in-state and out-of-state players. We've got a few starters out of state, a few in-state. We're starting to get some more local talent, which is really nice, and being able to retain that local talent. And so I think that, and just to see us start to win, like you said, COVID was kind of hard. I think it threw a lot of issues into what we had going, and took us a little reset after that. But it was really 1 year and we've jumped back into it. So I think just able to really sell my vision for the program, that it can be good. We have been good, and, to do it as a player and then be able to do it as a coach, I think is something that players also really, really like or are drawn to.
What's interesting too, is you seem to have a pretty balanced team in the sense of what they do, right? And what their role is on this squad and kind of in the youth department. And to your point, from different places. Katie Kirkham is the team's leading scorer. She's a senior from Carthage, Illinois. Stole her right from Carthage College. I'm kidding. Carthage is in Wisconsin, for all of you who don't know. But she's scoring nearly 20 points a game, pulling down 6 boards, and the team leader in assists, not even close, shoots 48% from the floor and 87%. And then you have Audrey Helmrichs, who is a sophomore from Iowa, who's a forward, doesn't shoot outside very often. And then you have a Coloradan in Kelly Kravik. Yeah, Taryn. I was looking down at Kelly Knight. Taryn Kravik, a junior. So it's interesting how you, in the top 3 alone, who are all double-figure scoring, you have this, literally what you just described, different players from different places. You have a different players in different roles, and you have different years in terms of academics. It's a very interesting balance.
It really is. And I think, sometimes you just get classes and that kind of class carries you through, but we've been able to blend a few players each class. And I think that's what's contributed to like our sustained success as well. You lose 1 or 2 and then you still have a few that return, like kind of goes in flows. And so, 3 leading scorers are seniors, sophomore and junior. And so I think that just gives you a little more consistency in how you're playing as well.
And again, there's other players who contribute. Just to wrap up, Helmrichs, she's at 15.9 points a game, 8 boards per contest, hands out a few assists, shoots pretty well from the floor. Folks, she shoots 6-7-7.
She's leading the nation, so that's a pretty nice thing to have around the rim for you. For our guards, they know if it's going inside, it's probably going in the basket. So that's been really fun for us. And she just, jumped from her freshman year. I don't know what she averaged for sure last year, 6 or 7. So she's almost added 10 a game. And so she's been a really bright spot for us too.
For the record, we just gave all the middle school and early high school kids a blast with all the 6-7s we just mentioned. So I just thought I'd add one more for you all just for the fun of it, because why not? Looking at her career numbers, 6.5 last year, 15.9 this year. But she shot 60% last year too. She just took less shots. Yep. And 0 for 3 for her career, all beyond the arc, which has all happened this year, coincidentally. But that's what's amazing is you have that balance, and that's scary to have someone like Helmrichs inside as a sophomore.
The sophomore, yeah.
And from that trio we're talking about, you're only losing 1. Not to beat this into the ground too much, but it is about this balance for not only now in the future, and it's really working now.
Yeah. I think it's been, like I said, the senior class, I think, really got us going their freshman year, and then we've just been adding the pieces. And we'll, graduate the seniors that we have, but it's nice to know who we return. We'll return one of our players. We actually had MVP of the league last year, that Tori Ciel, so we haven't had her all year, so she'll be back. And so I think that's just exciting for us when we're talking, future down the road past this season as well.
Technically, 4 seniors, 6 juniors, 5 sophomores, 4 freshmen. As you point out, you'll get one of those back.
Yep.
And so you continue on. Let's talk about the season a little bit before. Actually, you know what? I'm going to talk about stats because that's where we kind of were in this conversation. You talk nationally. This team is 36th in assist to turnover ratio, nearly top 50 in assists per game. Second best in field goal percentage, only behind Smith at 46% as a team. Obviously, it helps to have one player shooting.
Yeah.
2/3 of her shots go in. Defensive field goal percentage is top 50, 13th in free throw percentage. We were talking about how good that is. This is a team that clearly is that good at 75% at 13th. Top 40 in rebounding margin, top 25 in scoring margin and scoring defense, only allowing 51 points a game. 3-point percentage is 5th best in the country. 35.5% is insane. Nearly top 30 in how many you take per game. It all adds up to why this is all making sense, but the theme of the show is off the radar. I feel like the Cohawks are still a little off the radar. The conference has been a little off the radar.
Yeah, it has been this year. And, I think with us and Wartburg rising to the top of the league, I think that, we've kind of snuck under people's radars in terms of, we're 19-4. I think they've lost 6 games. And so I think that our league is really good. And so I think that when you talk all the statistics that we've thrown at people, like that's why we put ourselves in the mix, and that's why we're sitting in the spot that we have. And a few of our losses were obviously to really, really good teams. And so I think that our goal has just been each day that we're trying to put ourselves in the best spot come the end of the conference tournament time.
One last thing about the players before we talk about the season. Katie Kirkham obviously has been the straw that stirs the drink, right? We already talked about the 20 points per game. Broke your record, or moved past you, I should say, in the scoring column. She's now the team's all-time, or the program's all-time leading scorer. A little bit about what she's done, because she's been part of this, key to this resurgence.
Yeah, I mean, since her freshman year, knew she was going to be really special. And so to see her grow throughout her time, I mean, she was MVP of our league as a sophomore. And so this year to break career assists and then break career scoring, you just don't see that much. It means you're handing out the most points and you're making the most points. And so I think it's just a testament to her and the growth that she's made here at Co, in terms of what she can do offensively. And I mean, towards the end of the season here, she's been on a tear, which has been really fun to watch. Just her percentages the last few games and stuff like that. So I kind of joked when she got close to me, I was going to start backing off her minutes, but no, we didn't do that. She passed me about a week and a half ago, and then she needed 20 last Wednesday, and she had 17 and a half. And so made her next 3, and we celebrated that. And, anytime you can get to those milestones, it's pretty awesome to celebrate her and our group as a whole.
I can see the broadcasters now. Well, folks are coming out starting the second half early on. We have not seen Katie Kirkham. We don't know if she's been injured or what's going on.
No, really happy for her.
Coach is protected. We won't see Katie the whole rest of the season.
Yeah. I'm not like that. So
no, of course not. Talk to me about the season, though, all in all. We joked about Carthage. Interestingly enough, that was one of the losses you guys had by 9. You lost to Oshkosh by 7 out there at Oshkosh event, and then lost to Bethel in a thriller double overtime the next day by 4. Your only other loss is to Wartburg, which you've avenged, or really, let me see. What do you have the timing? No, you beat them in the beginning back in December, and they revenged it by 6. But just tell me, in general, how has the season gone?
Yeah, I mean, we scheduled harder. You can see some of the games that we threw on our schedule and trying to give ourselves a chance. And so I think just the progress to go on the road at Carthage, saw some things we had to get better at, and then played really well against Oshkosh and Bethel, 2 of the top, teams in the country. And I think then to go to Wartburg. So really only lost on the road. And so I just think we've continued to make progress since the Wartburg loss. We've really adjusted some things and been good on both sides of the ball as well. So, to go through our conference with 2 games left, only have 1 loss, just haven't seen that in a while. And so I think that's just a credit to the progress that we've made. And like you said, where we really are as a program. And so, we've got 2 left to kind of see how things will shake out at the end. But we've been playing really well, hung with teams, and giving ourselves our best shot.
What do you think of your situation in terms of NPI? 49th, 50th, something in that spot. Is that something you can worry about, or is this, listen, we know we're in an odd spot and a tough spot. We're just going to have to go out and win this.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to go out and win it. NPI has been really interesting. Like I mentioned, we tried to schedule to help that a little bit, but sometimes you can't control how other teams do or what you do. So I think it's going to be right on the edge. So, our goal is that we're going to go out and win it and, control that side of it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out down the stretch here.
Yeah, obviously, it'd be important to assure yourself a spot, right? But at the same time, if you can just take it out of your own hand, you're fine. But interestingly enough, you're in a better position than Wartburg is. To some degree, this makes this almost a one-bid conference, and that feels strange for as good as you two have been and the conference. Is this a scheduling issue within the conference? Is it just an off year, and that's why you all have been flying off the radar?
No, I think it is a scheduling thing that we've got to try to figure out. I mean, that's the new thing with MPI, right? You've got to figure out how your league has to do well. You have to add games. You got to win those games. And so it's been kind of a learning curve for us. But yeah, I do think that both of us, you could argue that we both have resumes to put ourselves in the mix. But yeah, it's likely going to be a one bid league this year. And so I don't think it's necessarily an off year. I even think the last few years we've been close, right there. But with the new systems, you got to adjust and, eventually have to. I mean, you have to pretty much get yourself above 40 probably to be in. And so I think that hopefully our conference can continue to work on that, but it falls under scheduling. Yeah.
Back to the scheduling, as you said, though, again, that event at Wisconsin Dells was interesting. You lost both to Oshkosh and Bethel, the second one in double overtime, but they were tight. I mean, 7 points to a really good Oshkosh team and 4 points to a Bethel team. That feels like something you built on the rest of the year and can build on to next year.
Yeah, I think those losses, I mean, would have loved to get both or one, but moving forward, I think that made us better. We realize we can play with the teams like that, that we are one of those teams, but also just, I think, made our players acknowledge some of that as well. But then, going forward, like we belong there, we can do that, and that'll help us with some of the scheduling that we're adding, for next year as well.
Well, Kayla, I appreciate the time. Great insight on this team. I again, Cohawks is one of my favorite darn mascots in all of the land. And the fact that your last name is similar and you went to the school, there's so much symmetry here. We should have been doing this a lot sooner. My final question before I give you the final word would be, what is this like to be able to take your alma mater back to the national conversation like this and be coaching at a level where you've had that success as a player?
It's hard to describe. I think, I credit a lot to my teammates in college, my coaches in college. I think you always dream of when you take over a program, what you're going to get it to, and to be able to do that. I think that's one thing, or dream about it and do it is another thing. And so I think just the players that we have in our program, the administration we have here, but it is really unique. I think that's another thing in recruiting that I love to tell recruits, like, you've been able to do it as a player and now as a coach. And so it's pretty special. I went to the Hall of Fame this fall, and that was really neat just to have, that kind of connection with my current team was awesome. And then all of the people that were supporting me in the past. And so it's a great place for me. And we've proven that, we can be in the national conversation, which has been really fun.
Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for the insight. Good luck the rest of the way, and hopefully we'll be talking about come March.
Yeah, that's the goal. Thanks, Dave.
Quickly, though, final word. Guest always gets it. Your final thoughts.
My thoughts?
Yeah, your final thoughts. Anything we haven't talked about?
Oh, man. I think that you put me on the spot there. I just think that where women's basketball is right now is awesome. When you talk all levels, you talk the state of Iowa, you talk across the board, that like you said, under the radar, that we could arguably, MPI, we're sitting different, but we're arguably in the mix. And so I think that it is really special to see where women's basketball has got. I know Division I gets a lot of that attention, but you can look at it at all levels. And I think we're a testament to that at the Division III level, that it's in a great spot. There are great teams all over the country. And I appreciate what you do, getting to showcase some of us teams.
Well, thank you for coming on. I didn't even consider the fact how great it must be to be in Iowa with women's hoops right now. We talk about Maine and Indiana as basketball meccas. Iowa is certainly in there, and what they've done with women's basketball of late is just spectacular. So
it's awesome.
Thanks for the reminder. Hey, good luck the rest of the way. We'll look forward to catching up.
Yep, thanks, Dave.
Coach Waskow joining us here to talk about the cohorts. There's too much in my mind. Good team. They've got Central on the road, Simpson at home come up. Those are about 500 teams in terms of overall record, battling it out maybe for the first seed against Wartburg. A lot to figure out with that. And, of course, maybe punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament. A lot to unpack there, and great to chat with her about it. When we come back, we'll stick with women's basketball. We'll head out to Rhode Island to a great cooking school where is this how you say it, cooking on the basketball court? I don't know that term, but it sounded fun in my head. We'll talk to Johnson & Wales women's basketball coming up.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all.
It's on us. It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us. All of us.
To stop sexual assault. Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Comprehensive learning is being able to adapt to experiences and apply the things that I learned. Being an athlete and juggling academics helped me grow as a person, and things that I've learned, I was able to apply it in another field, putting them into everyday life. Developing comprehensive learning helped me prioritize certain things to make sure I get to where I want to be.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. And in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
I learned a lot of valuable lessons playing college football. I never thought about the health benefits of exercise until I actually started to talk to coaches in college. It's not only just for performance, it's for life. My coaches instilled the importance of well-being, not only building up strength, mental health, getting enough sleep, eating properly is all what it is to be healthy. I decided that I want to go into personal trainer and share my knowledge that I obtained in college about physical and mental well-being.
We are calling you, all of you. We are calling all Division III schools to join our cause.
It's on us to start the change. It's on us to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division III. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Quick follow-up on Co. I'm going to have to dive in now on the ARC. Coach Kayla thinks that obviously there's a lot of permutations in the tie-breaking scenario. There's a lot you got to get through. But at one point, she thinks it's how you did in your last 8 games. Well, they played Wartburg and lost to them in the last 8. That's one of those I'm going to add in, and maybe this is going to have to be my 2 cents soon. I get you have to break some tiebreakers, but there are some tiebreakers, I think, in conference that are wholly unfair. One of them would be it's basically up to conference scheduling. So because you put Wartburg in their final 8, or if it was flipped, because Wartburg had Co in their final 8, that is against them. So, and then the other one I hate is using NPI. And people are like, well, you got to solve it. So you're going to base this on how teams scheduled out of conference for conference decisions? Like, I don't like some of these decisions. I get you got to make them. We'll talk about it in 2 cents. I guarantee you it's coming up. Sometimes it comes down to coin flips. Maybe that's not fair either. I get it, but we got to come up with some better ideas. I liked what the ASC does. It's point differential for the 2 games that you played and split. All right. What's the point differential between the 2 of you? All right, let's move on. We go out to Rhode Island where, okay, I warned our guest. I'm going to warn all of you. I'm going to probably make some cooking references because Johnson & Wales has a really good cooking school. Have you heard of Bobby Flay? Yeah. Some really good alums have come out of this institution. But on the women's basketball side of things, they're playing some pretty good basketball. Johnson & Wales has moved from the GNAC to the CNE, and they have not let off the gas. Interestingly enough, for the first time in program history, they could win 20 games in back-to-back seasons. They're 19-4 right now, 13-1 in conference play. Yep, I just put the big old spotlight right on the darn program. Dino Porcic joins us to talk about his women's basketball program, who are clicking right along. We should point out 2 of those 4 losses happened in the opening 4 games. Coach, good to see you. Congrats on the season.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely. Again, this is a program that is clicking along, playing pretty good basketball. You've played some tough opponents outside of conference, including Rhode Island and Smith. Union, who's having a terrific year, and Hartford. Lost to Rhode Island College by 13. Lost to Smith. Shocker, right? Almost everybody's lost to Smith. That was by 18. Lost to Union by 5 and lost to Hartford by 5 as well. Mixed bag, but outside of that, you've beaten all comers. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's been a fun year. Definitely an interesting year. We're really young. It's really a bunch of freshmen and sophomores, and we only have 2 upperclassmen. So, we're still trying to figure out, each other. We're still trying to figure out just how to navigate just college basketball itself. But the losses we've had, they were against really good opponents. One of them we didn't have, Grace, who was the second leading scorer in the country. So that was, unfortunate. But overall, it's been a really fun year. We've really grown over the last really month or so. We've really started to play our best basketball right now, which is what you want, obviously. So just having a lot of fun with this young group.
Well, you guys have been putting teams away. You beat McMurray by 25. You beat Wentworth by 47. Endicott gave you a game, beat them by 10. You got revenge back on Hartford by beating them by 14. Suffolk wasn't close. Again, the Curry game wasn't close. Gordon wasn't close. What's been the experience of changing leagues after being in the GNAC forever? You still went 13-1 last year, 23-3. What's been the adjustment you guys have had to go through?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, the conference, the CNE is really good. Just historically has been a really good conference. I actually graduated from Nichols College, so I've been familiar with it. So, the conference is really good. The coaches there are really good. The players, just the conference itself has been really tough, and we knew it was going to be a grind coming from even the GNAC last year. The top half was pretty good. St. Joe's, Maine, St. Joe's, Connecticut. Emmanuel, Albertus, last year that everyone had a lot of, 50-year seniors. So we were just the young kids on the block, just trying to figure out how to win. And, this year it's kind of the same thing. But again, like we go into every practice, into every game is we just focus on the present. We focus on today. We're not really worried about, who's, what's 2 weeks from now, what's 4 weeks from now. We're just trying to stay in the moment, try to have fun with this group, and really just try to figure everything out day by day. So it's been fun. Yeah.
I clicked off my mic. We're going to start that over again. For all the people at home, Dino heard every word of it. It's been a bit of whiplash since you guys rejoined, or since COVID. 2-22 in that year following, 2-15 in conference, and 10-16 campaigns with below 500 records in the GNAC, and then suddenly, boom, you're 23-3, a 13-game improvement in both categories, up and down, to last year, and now you're 19-4 and again 13-1 in conference play. That's not a build. That's an absolute explosion. What was the difference maker with this? It wasn't just changing conferences, because you did it last year in the GNAC.
Right. Yeah, no. So when I got hired, kind of got hired a little late into the process, so I couldn't really bring in any players. So that first year I got hired, that 22-23 season, I think we went, like I said, 10-16, like you had mentioned. And that year we were just trying to just set the culture, just really lay the groundwork, the foundation of it all. and just prove to the players that we had at that time that we can win some games and we can compete against the top in the conference. And we had some close games that year against some of the top teams in the conference. So they started to believe. And then that's when our first recruiting class hit, which was this year's sophomore group with, Grace Jaffrey, Isabella Suero, Brianne Foley, Mia Cruz, Gabby. I mean, we had a really, really good freshman class. I would say probably one of the best freshman classes in the country last year. And we gave them the keys right away. And, we play a really different style. We play with a lot of pace. We play fast. We shoot a ton of threes. So it's been fun for them and fun for the entire team, really, just playing that space and pace offense. Right away, they just kind of, just had that confidence, and they don't know what they don't know as freshmen. They just went in there and had fun. They had no clue who any teams were. They just compete every day. And I knew that group would be different. My first day of classes, they had all that freshman class. They had all left their families, and then they were in the gym for 4 hours that day, just working out. And that's when I knew, I was like, we're going to have a special group. They compete, they really want to win, and they care about each other a lot. So, and that's transitioned obviously into our next recruiting class, which is this year's freshman group, who have just added a lot for us, a lot for our program. They balance each other out really well, and they've added just a lot of experience. So some of them played a lot of prep school basketball, so it's been really good for us. They're excited every day to come to practice. They work really hard, and I'm just really proud of the growth and the maturity that they've already shown, only being freshmen and sophomores, really.
I think that's the other key is, you look at your roster and you're like, oh, geez, they must have had a mass exodus with the coaching change. And you got hired in May of 23, and I went back and looked, and that was a team that you had that was extremely senior heavy, including a graduate student. You had, I think, 7 seniors. You had 4 juniors, a sophomore, a couple freshmen. You then go to last year, and you look at a program. Sorry, it's not coming up like I wanted to. Bear with me. The back button doesn't work on roster things as well as it should. You look at last year, and again, you have this senior heavy, 4 seniors, as we talked about, 1 junior, 1 sophomore, and a host of freshmen. So it gets us to this year, and you're talking about 1 senior on this team. And as you said, a whole mess of underclassmen, 1 senior, 1 junior, whole mess of sophomores, whole mess of freshmen. So it's not like you came in, cleaned house, brought in the players you wanted. You graduated back-to-back massive classes, right, and had to get the recruiting in. So it's pretty impressive that you got last year's results and then this year's results. So when you're on the recruiting trail, what is the selling point? Other than me joking all the time about, Bobby Flay, we got really good food here. What is the selling point to come and play for your program?
Yeah, I mean, I think the style of play is the first thing that we notice. A lot of players want to play in this style. We play very fast. You have a lot of freedom on offense. We don't, it's not like we're going to sit there and run 20 set plays. We teach them the game. We develop, and our culture is just, I know every coach obviously talks about culture, but I really believe that our culture that we built here is very strong. The team cares about each other so much. They're all best friends. It's a really fun group. So, we obviously sell the culture, the style of play. The city itself, the Providence itself is a big basketball town. Lots of basketball fans here. We're right in downtown, so location is great. Like you mentioned, the food scene is phenomenal here, so tons of great restaurants, lots of things they can go to that's walking distance. There's just a lot to sell here, so it's been, and the schools have had, history of success. It went to the NCAA tournament back-to-back years when Corey was here, and he's now over at St. Anselm's doing really well over there. So I knew it could be done, and it just, we just needed a few players to get the ship sailing. But I didn't think it would happen as fast as it did, obviously. No one really anticipates that. But here we are now, and we're just enjoying the moment and having fun with this process. But, like I said, now the recruiting's been a little bit, I don't want to say easier because recruiting's never easy. But, as soon as we bring in, players now, I'm like, just go meet the team and you'll see what I'm talking about, because they really are a fun group, competitive group, and they're great in the classroom. They're great off the court. They're just a really fun group to be around, and they make going to practice every day really enjoyable. So they're the selling point.
And take them to get some food. I'm sorry, I'm leaning in on the joke at this point. I put all my chips in. We're going for it. Let's talk about this team. Grace Jaffray leads the team in scoring at 25 points a game. She has missed 5 games this season and already is over 1,000 points for her career as a sophomore. She's the 7th player to hit that point in program history, which dates back to the mid-90s. Obviously, that's stirring the drink in a larger degree from Blue Hill, Maine. I am not surprised that you're finding a good player in that kind of person who was the Rookie of the Year last year. But what's it like with Grace on the floor?
I mean, what a lot of people don't know actually is she graduated high school early. So she actually was 17 years old all of last year as a freshman. She's 18 this year. So, sometimes we forget that she's still a very, very young, student athlete here. And some of the things that she does on the floor is just, unbelievable. She's a 3-level scorer. She can do it in so many different ways. But the thing that I love the most is, she's just very coachable. She's a great teammate. She cares about everyone. She's selfless. I can go on and on talking about Grace, obviously, but just she's made such a huge impact on this program. And right away, right now, I think she's 2nd in the country in scoring, and she's doing it efficiently too. So it's not like, she's shooting 25, you know what I mean? Like she's 45%, I think, from the field, or 46%, somewhere around there. So she's doing it very efficiently, and she puts her teammates first. Obviously, with her on the floor, we're really good. And we had to figure out how to play without her this year, like you had mentioned, 5 games. And, this past 30 days, that's where she missed that 4-game stretch. And we found ways to win. Everyone has stepped up. Everyone has chipped in. We found a way to get through some tough games. We had beat Hartford on the road without her. We had to go to Endicott and play them without her. So those are 2 huge wins for us without her, obviously. And that's kind of what, now that we have her back these last few games, trying to ease her back into the game and just plugging her into this, not really new style, but just plugging her into where we're at now has been really fun. So now we're really excited for our, last week of the regular season and then what's to come.
Yeah, she's 6 points back of first place in the national level. Alexa Charles, who we've had on this show, leads all Division III at 31.3 points per game. A note from Pete DeVito, that your assistant AD for communications, hats off to him, points out that Brianna Foley kind of became the de facto number 1 on this team. Tried not to use his words, but they came out so smoothly when she went down for injury. So now you've almost got a 2-pronged approach. Yeah.
Bria's been unbelievable for us, and she goes under the radar a lot, just because we have Grace, and she gets the the praise with the scoring and all that, but she legitimately, to me, is probably the second best player in the conference, right behind Grace. Like it's nice that I think we have 2 of the best players in the conference, and Bree just does everything on the floor for us. She defends the other team's best players. She's one of the top 3 in the conference in rebounding. She's top 3 in every category. She really does everything for this team. She is selfless. She could care less if she scores 2 points or 25 points. Rarely will she ever score 2 points though, so we don't have to worry about that, thankfully. But she's been awesome for us. When her number's called, she's there, and just ready to contribute with whatever the team needs. So we're really lucky that we have her, and I can't say enough good things about her.
I forgot to go back on Grace Jaffrey. I grew up in Maine, so I kind of know where she's from in Blue Hill, which is southwest of Ellsworth, Maine, gorgeous, west of Mount Desert Island for anybody who's a Bar Harbor fan, right on the water. It's a gorgeous place. I'm curious how anyone in Maine let her go from that high school a year early when there are Maine titles on the line. How in the world do you pull that off?
Yeah, we got really lucky. We got really lucky. She came here to visit early in her junior year, and we were the first school she had visited. And it was really interesting. And she started playing basketball late too, so it's not like she's been playing her whole life. Which makes the story even crazier, honestly.
Yeah, there are people in Ellsworth throwing things right now.
Yeah. So we knew she was really talented in high school, obviously. And, when she came to our clinic, actually, we had our clinic in November, Veterans Day clinic. And that was my first year. And she came and participated. And I was like, oh, you can play right now. Like you can be on our team right now. And then fast forward a few months later, she gives me a call and she's like, hey coach, like, I know you said like I could play right now, but I actually figured out through the school, I can graduate early, this and that. Like, could I come to school early? Well, that was the easiest yes of my life, that I've had to make. So, the transition through that was quick and easy. And, I know a lot of other programs were not too happy, that we ended up with her, especially with Maine being such a hotbed of talent and obviously a lot of really good programs up there, at the collegiate level that are, ranked and all this stuff. Like they're really good basketball up there. So, we're happy that we have her. We're really lucky. And, every year now I tell everybody, I'm like, well, we need one player from Maine now, at least. So, that's something that we're trying to do. Yeah.
You got to get on that.
Oh yeah. We got a freshman this year that's from Maine, and we're hoping to get a few more. So we'll see.
Her season ended, it looks like, in the Class B North Finals. They lost to Old Town, 58-42. Yeah, I'm a dork. That they definitely wanted her back one more year. Promise you. So back to the rest of this team, though. Isabella Serrero leads the team, or leads Division III, or at one point did last year with 99 made three-pointers. Is obviously a major threat for you. You've got Michaela Caruso, third all-time in rebounding and blocks. Mia Cruz, best rebounding guard in the CNE, according to Pete, at 5.3. This is obviously a team that can do a lot of things that aren't just the Jaffrey or the Foley show, and I guess that's what makes you dangerous. So my question is, with that knowledge base, how do you finish off this conference? You got to win it to get in. We know that. And then how do you take advantage of it in March?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, we have so many pieces, and everyone's confidence is at an all-time high, which is what we, want to make sure we give our players the ultimate confidence to succeed on the court. We give everyone the green light to shoot the ball. We're first in the conference in assist to turnover ratio. So that's obviously a big thing that we, talk about every day in practice, is just continue sharing the basketball, continue, to do what we do. And, you had mentioned Bella, she was first last year in threes made in the country. This year, not at the level that she wants to be at, but she has grown tremendously in these last 30 days and has matured. And she's actually one of our captains this year. So she's been really good for us as well. You mentioned Mia Cruz. We had two other freshmen who had started throughout the course of the year this year too. So we have a lot of players we can plug and play and play the way we want and play fast. But like I mentioned earlier, I mean, we're not trying to look too far ahead. We're not, I know that we have to win the conference to make the, to make the tournament. I don't tell the players that, like I said, we really do just focus on what's in front of us, So right now, like, I'm going over our opponent tomorrow and Roger Williams. We know that's going to be a tough game, and we're doing scout on that today. So we really just take it day by day, and they know how talented we are. They know what we're capable of. So that's been our approach. And like I said, we're just not trying to look too far ahead and think about the conference, playoffs and what happens in March, because we knew like last year we were first going into the tournament or going into the conference tournament, and we ended up losing in the semis. And, they understand that it's not easy. Like, it's a grind, especially come playoff time. It's just whoever's, playing well that week. And, we know we've put the work in. We know we've, prepared each and every day for this moment. So we know that we'll do what we have to do to make sure we get to that. But we're just trying to stay in the moment right now and just be prepared.
You're in my head, Dino. You're in my head. I was going there. I said, I think you got a lot of motivation considering you lost by 16 to St. Joseph's, Connecticut last year in the conference tournament on a season that was 23-2 at the time. I think you guys have plenty of motivation there. Haven't been to the NCAA tournament by my mark since 26-17. I think it was 2015-16, sorry, when they made it back-to-back years and been thumped in the first round. But this is a type of team and program that's building towards it. So I appreciate the insight. Tremendous. I am kind of curious, though, as a Nichols grad, what's it like to be in that region, now kind of back in that conference, coaching on the women's side and all that it entails?
Yeah, it's been fun. Just being, I've coached all around New England. I was at Rhode Island College for 3 years, and then I was an assistant at Merrimack. And now being back here.
Don't worry, we aren't judging you on the Merrimack choice.
So it's been awesome. Just New England is great basketball here, as you guys know. It's so many great teams, so many great programs, and a lot of talent. So. Coming into the CNE, already being familiar with the teams and the history and knowing who's been what, the last several years, knowing how, a lot of the coaches are some of the same coaches that have been there even when I graduated at Nichols. So, the coaches here are awesome. Everyone's been welcoming in the CNE. So it's been a really easy transition for us and fun. And like I said, we're just a bunch of young kids right now still. We're freshmen, sophomores, just trying to figure it out day by day and just trying to have fun with the process. So, yeah.
Unmute your microphone, David. Well, listen, I appreciate the perspective. Great to hear. I'm fascinated with this team. I know, again, this is off the radar type show. This is talking about those teams maybe everybody's not keeping an eye on. You've got some darn good players, and it's pretty impressive to watch. Thanks for the time and the deep dive. I could have gone further with you. We'll do it another time. Good luck the rest of the season. Good luck in the conference tournament, and hopefully we're talking about this team in March. We have a tradition on this show, though. We give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I just wanted to say first, thank you, Dave, and everything you do for women's basketball. It's huge. It's needed, especially with where the women's game is now. It's at an all-time high. The talent is great. So we really appreciate you, and thank you for having us on the show. And, we're really excited here. A lot of good things happening here in Providence and at Johnson & Wales University. So, we're hoping to continue this success, and hopefully we get to talk soon again, hopefully in March.
Definitely. It'll be a lot of fun to do so. Hey, take care of yourself, and maybe someday I'll even get to that campus. I keep promising I will. Well, someday I got to make a right-hand turn instead of a left as I head to New England.
We'll have to send you some gear, too. I got you.
We'll be in touch about that soon. Dino, take care of yourself. Thanks for the time. Look forward to catching up.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you.
Great chat there with Dino. Quick couple notes. By the way, I bet Grace Jaffrey is a huge Maine blueberry fan. Tons of Maine blueberries in that region. I'm being a dork. I get it, but it's my show. I can be a damn dork. Also, I happen to be looking up a player. They had a player from Idaho last year. I was kind of curious. Maybe she went to Rhode Island and went, oh, heck no. I don't know if she's still playing. She's no longer on the team. But what got me to this point is they had her profile on ESPN, and it's Johnson & Wales Griffins. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's the Wildcats. I have never heard of them as the Griffins. Stop yourselves, ESPN. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will head down the coast to Arcadia men's basketball, who are doing pretty well in the MAC Freedom. I had a choice of a Van Zelst brother this week, and instead of choosing two like I did in the past, I chose one. Did I choose wisely? We'll find out. You listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3 Hoops. Back with more after this.
Coach of the Year, Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, then I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit NABC.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC 1927. That's NABC.com or NABC 1927 on social media.
I believe sportsmanship is a mutual admiration and respect for your fellow competitors. We all go through a lot to reach the point where we compete against one another. It's important to realize that. So once we're finally on the field or on the court or on the starting block, we look at each other as fellow human beings and not just competitors. Being able to recognize the hard work that other athletes are putting in creates a more positive and inclusive environment.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com. Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. As we roll along on a Monday, reminder coming up tonight, Top 25 show for all you Hoopsville members, buymeacoffee.com/Hoopsville. We'll gain you live access to that and up to a week of access to it before the general public. It's last week's show is released. I meant to do it Friday. I'll admit, I hit a proverbial wall on Friday. Just slammed into it. I was exhausted. And so I checked out and watched some Olympics on Friday night. And by the time I went to bed, I realized I hadn't done 3 things I meant to do while sitting there on the couch. So I got a little bit behind, including turning that Top 25 show around for the public. A reminder also, we'll talk more about it at the end of the show on Thursday. We're double dipping as well. We've got our normal show at noon and then our exclusive Top 16 show at 7 p.m. Got a question for us? Email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com. We're going to go down the coast from where we just were up in Rhode Island to Arcadia, located in Glenside, Pennsylvania, if you're unfamiliar. They're part of the MAC Freedom, having a pretty darn good season. They are 17-6 this year, which hits the win total from the 23-24 season, is 5 better than last year. And they haven't been at this point since 18-19, the year before Adam Venzel took over the program. They're 10-2 in conference play in the MAC Freedom, which means they've got a game lead on Stevens and DeSales. More importantly for this squad, they've gotten past DeSales twice and they've split with Stevens. So
things are looking pretty good for the Knights. So I had a choice below. If you know the history of this show, we had a segment on once where Ryan Venzel and Adam Venzel came on. They're twins. They were both coaching programs. Now, for Adam, he chose a program that's been a little bit more stable. I feel for Ryan. He has been through the ringer with programs after making some decisions, but he's got a great program in Drew now that he's in charge of. I could have had them both on, so I coin flipped it. I didn't. I was already leaning towards Adam because I needed somebody from this region. But both would be worthy of the time, though we all know Adam would be a 10 times better guest, and that's really why we're having Adam on the show. As I just realized, I forgot to put him into the system. Bear with me a second as I go into here, and I do this, and I do that, and somehow I didn't approve something. So that means I forgot one other step. So bear with me as I keep talking about the fact that the Zelst brothers are kind of a cool story, just in the fact that they're these twins who figured out how to coach really good basketball and are proving continuously to have good programs. This Albright team, and I'm sorry, Albright's the alma mater. We'll talk about them later. This Arcadia team had a bit of a rough stretch in December, early January, but after that, they've been clicking along. They have not lost since Delaware Valley on January 7th. It all leads me to finally having enough time to put them in the darn system and get them up on the camera shot and finally get to them because I've wasted enough time. It's time for Adam Venzel to join us on the Hoopsville Hotline. Coach, good to see you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me. Also, your little intro, just want you to know, the other thing about Ryan, I'm a better basketball player. I just want that on the record as well. So.
No, absolutely you should. Better coach, better player. We all know that. Better decision maker.
Sure. We could say better looking if we're going to keep going.
Sure. We'll go better looking. I've looked at the pictures. I've seen it.
Thanks. Dave.
Ryan right now is throwing things at the screen or laughing his head off. Either way, win. Again, you take over this program after the 23-6, after the 18-19 season, if I have this right. Justin Scott was head coach. Obviously, he moved on. Program went 16-11 the next year. Then you kind of just dealt with the effects of COVID, right? 7-4 in an offset year the next year. Then 12-14, 500 teams. Building, Adam, building. 17-9 and 23-24, back to 500 last year. What's this year been like, especially when the first half of the season was back to kind of that 500 look?
Yeah, I think it's been a lot of fun. Obviously, we faced a little adversity end of November, December area. We were dealing with some injuries, but, so is everybody in the country. So I don't want to sit here and, hammer that point home. But I think the biggest thing is we just started playing looser and, we were picked preseason number 1, so I think we had a little pressure on us, and we weren't enjoying it as much as we should have been. So, I think break gave us a chance to reset, and we came back, and we had a Division I game, and we had a trip to New York, and we really just enjoyed being around each other. And ever since then, it's been a blast. We have a special group of people. There's so much fun to be around. It's one of these things. This season when you get to this time of year, it could be over just like that. But, we don't want it to end. I don't think anybody in our program does because we just enjoy spending time around each other.
Again, that beginning start, you talk about the New York trip, but you go to, up until January 7th, you had, 2, 4, 6, 7 wins and 5 losses. So 7-5. You talk about, mid-December, it wasn't that. It was 5-4. You talk about the trip to New York. You talk about kind of finding yourselves a little bit. Since that January 7th loss to Delaware Valley at home by 2, you've only lost to Stevens by 3 at home. You seemingly are taking care of business. Really, you could argue going back to the Lehman game, you've only lost twice. What was it about the trip? What was it about the midway point? What was it about this program that just kind of needed, was it refocus or whatever it was that you all needed?
Yeah, I just think it was, we got healthy, number 1. I think just the weight was off our shoulders. I think we put so much pressure, like, hey, we need to win every game. We need to play perfect basketball. It needs to be this, type of style. And I think we just, once you lose a few games, I think you look in the mirror a little bit and, you handle some adversity. And I think as a staff and as we have a really old group, we have 7 seniors and we have 1 grad year senior. So we really have, 8 guys that have played a ton of basketball for us and been around our program for a long time. So I think we all just took a step back and, they're all best friends. Like I said, they're special. They love each other, and that's what makes this so fun. So I think they were just like, hey, conference plays coming up. We need to get it together. And the only way we're going to do that is if we enjoy playing basketball together through the highs and lows. So I think getting some of that weight off our shoulders of trying to be perfect and just being able to start anew when you're 0-0 in conference play, kind of, I think was good for us. And I also think the trip was good because, you stay overnight, you joke around, there's no distractions. It's just a squad. Who knows what they did in the hotel rooms? I know I was out in the lobby having a good time. So, I think that was really good for us.
It's interesting. A couple of notes. I don't consider, we were talking about Justin Scott leaving before then. I don't realize truly the impact you've had on this program until you get little notes, like I did from your SID Adam, coincidentally. Not the same Adam, folks. Fourth time that you've won 10 games in conference play. Nobody in Arcadia men's basketball history has done that. 8 wins away from the all-time winningest in program history, which is pretty remarkable. What's it like from your perspective to have this kind of longevity and success, especially coupled now with what you're doing this year and seeing it play out in front?
Yeah, I think I've just been blessed to be able to coach great players. You can go down the list, inherited Daquan Davis, second all-time leading scorer, the Jalen Watkins, the Nazir Johnsons, the Jameson Lynhams, the Justin Mines. The list can go on. We've just had a lot of good basketball players. I can sit here and say it's coaching. You're as good as the players you have, right? So, and then I just think the support staff, the boss, our AD here, Brian Granada, does an unbelievable job. He cares. The investment in athletics, the support of men's basketball and women's basketball has given me the opportunity to create a good program. And I walked into an unbelievable situation when Justin Scott left. It wasn't like I took over a complete rebuild. There were good basketball players here. And, I've been able to build off of that and have had the same staff more or less outside of one or two guys. So there's been a lot of stability, a lot of good basketball players, and just a great basketball location. We're right outside Philadelphia. There's good players locally. We don't have to recruit far. So it's just it's a really good place. I'm happy. And a lot of it has to do with all that external stuff. I'm just here driving the ship. I don't, I'm not a lot of it's me. It's everybody else.
Sure, Adam. Yeah, you're just not the head coach. Well, and you didn't hire your brother. I think that helped as well. Keep the program sane. I'm going to apologize in advance. Adam sent a video, and it's also on their website. I have listened to these names, and I am going to botch them anyway because my brain is fried by the fourth interview in the show. But you've got a lot of contributors on this team, essentially 4 in double figures because we round up. 19 points a game roughly from Jameson Lynham, who's shooting 48+% from the floor and an astounding 40% from beyond the arc, 59 to 134. I'm going to get to the rest of the guys, but those stats just explode off the page. What is it like with Jameson on the floor and how the rest of the offense comes together?
Yeah, when you have someone that can shoot the basketball like that, I think it makes everyone else lives a lot easier, right? There's a lot more floor spacing. He helps at our pickup points in transition defense where, teams are just spread out because they're so worried about him. And then he's good downhill too. He's just a hooper. He's in the gym every day. He's a tough kid. He's going to bring the fight to you. He thinks he's the best player on the floor every time he steps on the floor, and that's what makes him special. He's not the biggest kid by stature, but credit to him. After his freshman year, he put on 20 pounds of muscle and really worked at it. And, he's a special person to be around. We knew he'd be really good when he decided to come to Arcadia. Did I think it would click for him this early? I don't know. I'd be lying, I think, if I said yes. But he's a blast to coach. He's fun to be around. And the sky's the limit for him. Again, he's only a sophomore, so there's a lot of upside there, too.
Right. He's only a sophomore. He was already the 17th player in program history to 1,000 points, which, by the way, says a lot about the program in terms of the fact it's had a lot of good scores in its history. But he's only a sophomore. He's got a potential to absolutely blow the doors off of some of the stats in Arcadia history. But then you get to the rest. Now it's Johnson, who's second on the team at 17 points a game, pulls down about 4 boards per contest. He shoots decently himself at 43%, decent outside shooter as well. This is where I'm going to screw something up, I'm sure. Joshua Okocha?
Yes.
No, tell me if I got it wrong.
No, you're fine. That's fine. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, it's fine isn't good enough. Someone's going to laugh at me.
No, we go with J.O. because it's easy.
J.O., yeah. J.O.'s obvious. Yeah, of course. His family's going, no, it's not his name. 10 points a game, 7.6 boards per contest. And of course, we round up because 9.6 points for Corey Ativo, I think, is pretty solid. 5 points or 5 boards a game, but he shoots 56%. We should go point out Johnson has missed 5 games of injury. You talk about some banged up players. He's only played in 18 games. But that core 4, and actually, we'll go down to Josh Parks, 8.6 points a game and 6 boards. That core 5 obviously is helping stir the drink for the larger part of this team. And I know there's other players, but that's a pretty good dynamic group.
Yeah, Naz Johnson is a 4-year starter. He missed all last year with a shoulder surgery, so he medically redshirted. He was part of our team. I was our point guard when we went to NCAA tournament a few years back. So he's the heart and soul of the program. He's a winner. He does so much for us. It's not just about the stats. He's just an awesome basketball player. J.O.'s a 4-year starter, Warrior. It's been unbelievable for us down the stretch. And Corey Ativo, center for us. He's one of those big guys where he's just plugging along. He had to sit behind Jalen Watkins, who was MVP of the league for us a couple years ago, and waited his turn and is really paying off. The dividends are finally paying off for him. And, he's having one of those big guy senior years where the second half of conference play, it's really starting to click. So we have a really good group of nucleus. I think we have multiple ways that we can beat you. And I think that's one of our strengths, that not only we have multiple guys that can score, but they all sacrifice for each other.
The one thing that jumps out at me, though, Adam, is that of the 5 I just mentioned, 4 of them are grad or seniors, and you've got 8 on this team who are senior or graduate students who you presumably will lose all of going into next year. Is that put a little pressure on taking advantage of the opportunity this year and getting it done? Because you've got a stud in lineup, but you're going to have a lot of unknowns next year.
Yeah, I mean, let's call it what it is, right? Like, you have an older group. You want to make sure that older group goes out the right way. And, I hope it's not pressure for them. Pressure is a privilege in a sense. I hope that they just have urgency and know they see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? Like, I think we'll have a playoff game, next Wednesday. And then after that, it's up to us. Players got to make plays this time of year. And I just hope that they do it for each other. And, they're willing to do the hard stuff, whether it's on the glass or get loose basketballs, because I hope they don't want to stop playing basketball together. And that's the kind of hope of the program that we want to create here. So, yeah, I definitely think there's definitely some urgency there. And the good thing is a lot of those guys have played in big games. They played in NCAA tournament games. They played in playoff games. So the moment shouldn't be too big. It's just, do you handle the ups and downs during the course of a basketball game, which is an emotional sport. So, I just, I hope we're ready. We just got to worry about Wednesday versus FTU this week. But, I think they're looking forward to compete.
In the conference, you guys are leading it by a game over Stevens and DeSales. You split with Stevens. You swept DeSales. 2 games on Arcadia. It's really that 4, and then everybody else in a conference that is always ebbing and flowing. Lev Val, for example, bouncing in. Florham and Kings Delaware Valley are the only ones we haven't mentioned. Interesting enough, you have a loss to the bottom of the conference, which in tiebreakers could become an issue if it gets that far. That said, Stevens, DeSales, Misericordia, it's been this trio for a number of years, you guys bouncing in and out of this conversation. DeSales a couple years ago, 24-4. Stevens has always been a consistent team. What's it like to be at the top of this conference? What are you expecting as the season closes out and conference play ahead?
I think the top 4 schools that you're mentioning there, I think any one of us can beat each other. DeSales has a really good basketball player and an unbelievable coach. Stevens has an unbelievable coach. And, obviously you had Coach Chandler on earlier this year. He does a heck of a job. So I think all of us, it's a challenge. I think we're all happy to be in the situation we're in. Some more than better, happier with theirs than others. But I just think it's going to take 40 minutes to beat any one of those teams. And, obviously you got to make some shots, but I think it's going to be the little things. The team who does that and plays the hardest down the stretch can pull it out. But it's going to be a bear. I think our league is a little under appreciated. I think the top of our league's good. I don't think we did an awesome job this year as a league winning, non-conference games to get us where we need to in the MPI. But I do think teams have gotten better. And I think that's a credit to the coaching. Yeah,
this is a winner-go-home conference this season. Nobody's even in the top 64, let alone the rest. Stevens, interestingly enough, they were leading the way last year, kind of unraveled, losing 5 of their last 8 games of the season. I think, I'm trying to remember who made the NCAA tournament. Oh, it was Delaware Valley. Oh. And they lost by 22 to Wesleyan in the first round. I mean, this conference feels like a really competitive one, like it is on the Commonwealth side, but it's waiting DeSales a couple of years ago maybe was that opportunity. It's waiting for that team to kind of cement itself and get everybody else to come along and improve to their level as well.
I would agree with that. I mean, it's similar to the Commonwealth. The tough thing with the MAC, you know how it is. Any team could beat any team any night. It's always a bear, which hurts us in the long run, I think, in at-large bids, because it's not like you're just going to roll over any opponent. So, I do think, our top of our league, and our league it's better than the credit it's given. But we got to go out and beat people, so I can sit here and talk is cheap.
You know this league darn well. You played in it on the Commonwealth side and were a coach in it for a long time. You've seen it change. I've seen it change. It was very nationally driven, and now it's kind of just fallen off the radar, but I've always called it like Big Ten basketball. It's going to be absolutely rock'em sock'em every single night. But has that been a detriment, or is it about getting players who can play that style and elevate the conference?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think, when we moved from the Commonwealth to the Freedom, I think the Freedom is more structure-based. I thought it was, you're guarding more sets. It's more organized. It's a little slower paced. Where I always thought the Commonwealth was more free-flowing, and I thought there was more athletes, and, you need the bodies, and you need to get a certain type of player. So I feel like we've adjusted. When you play the Sales, they're going to run their stuff, and you got to be able to stop them. Stevens runs, Coach Hurley runs unbelievable offense. So you need to make sure that you're mentally tough enough and you're physical enough to defend against them, right? So I felt like we had to change the way we recruited some. I feel like you got to recruit mentally tough student athletes along with guys that are good enough, right? So I think, how this is. We can sit here and talk about Division III basketball. No one understands how good it is. You can be on a team, but to play those meaningful minutes is a bear. And I think our league's no different.
Yeah, it falls on the category, I can play D3. Well, show up. Let's see how you do. Yeah, right. I think that's what makes it interesting when the Commonwealth and Freedom have to move teams around like yourselves and Lebanon Valley, because each side has got kind of a style to it, similar that different, as you were just explaining, that those teams then have to adjust to some degree, or bully themselves into existence, for lack of a better description. We talked about you as a player. We've talked about it before, Albright. I don't want to dwell on it, but Albright's been a lot in the news for a couple of different reasons. One, it's on that list of schools we don't know if it's open next year, right? But on the flip side, Rick's having a dandy of a season. They're having an incredible year to a larger extent. They just knocked off Hood to keep anybody in the MAC Commonwealth to ever have gone through the MAC Commonwealth undefeated. Since its naming, I think you got to go back to the Scranton days when it was in the conference. It was called the Northwest for it to find an undefeated team. They've been undefeated since mid-January. It's kind of a weird dichotomy, a program that's doing really well in conference at a school that's supposedly struggling. It's got to be weird as an alum to watch that play out from afar.
Yeah, proud alum. Obviously love Rick, played for Rick, coached there for a while too. So happy for him. I know he really liked his team going into the season. So they, similar to us, they struggled early, but when it matters most, Rick always figures it out. His teams are always tough down the stretch, and you can tell they're probably having fun, and they're on a run. So I'm watching from afar, always rooting for him, hoping for the best for him. And he got me, helped get me to where I am today. So love that man, and wish him the best.
Rick, you always have a job with Adam if you ever need it.
Assistant.
Exactly. Quickly, let's talk some trash or not talk some trash. Your brother's having a pretty good season in his first year at Drew. Unfortunate jump on board at Cabrini and kind of get absolutely hosed there with the development with Villanova. I know from next door you've probably watched that play out, but you got to be proud of him at Drew, or you just want to talk trash. The floor is yours.
No, I mean, I'm so happy for him. Look, it's crazy. This business, what we do is insane. You know how competitive it is to get head coaching jobs. And, got to shout out Casey Stitzel for taking a chance and helping him stay in coaching, right? With Cabrini closing and took him for a year as a full-time assistant. He went through the gambit of interviews, and man, did he land at a great spot. Drew cares. They want to be good. They're in a good league. Coach McSloy left him good players. And, my brother's a great coach. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves because of the situation he's been in. But he's going to stay there for a while, and he's going to build something special, and you watch, and they're going to be a power in the Landmark, a lead recruiter. So, I'm happy for him. I might get a little emotional. I'm really happy for him because I know what he's been through.
Absolutely. I mean, they lost to Catholic by 3 the other night, but they, in a previous game against Catholic, had, at the Palestra, were battling with them as well. But they've got some big wins. They knocked off Scranton. They've had a pretty good season, and considering how much he's had to come and not rebuild, as you said, got left with a great program, but they've got to adjust to him, right?
For sure.
But hey, Adam, great to chat with you. Really appreciate the time and the insight. I always find it fascinating. Could talk more and more, but we'll let you go. Obviously, Florham and Kings at home to finish the season is going to be a strong point. Good luck the rest of the way. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
No, Dave, thanks so much for your support, Division III basketball. Obviously, just happy to do something I love to do, and thanks so much for having me on to talk about our program.
Absolutely. Congrats. Been there a long time, it turns out. Doing pretty darn well. Can't wait to see how far the Knights go the rest of the way, and I know we'll catch up down the road. Awesome. Thanks, Dave. Take care. Adam Venzel's joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. Good program there. Good program in that region. It's the NJAC too, other than Montclair State. There's a lot of really good teams that just beat the heck out of each other, right? And I think that ends up being at their detriment only because we're so used to good teams standing out from the crowd. But, flip that with the WIAC. WIAC's got a lot of really good teams that stand out, and they beat the heck out of each other this year, right? The top 25 has been a struggle with what do you do with WIAC teams. I'm not saying that the MAC Freedom's on the same level as the WIAC. I'm just saying that it's similar, that when you beat up on each other, sometimes it can be a detriment. You just don't end up understanding who the really good teams are as a result. Top 4 in the MAC Freedom is pretty darn good, and considering it's DeSales, it's DeSales, it's Stevens, Arcadia, and Misericordia, and we know those 4 programs can play. Now they've got to take the next step in the NCAA tournament. That's a fact. They need to not be blown out like Delaware Valley was against Wesleyan to make that presence known. And to some degree, I'll say the same thing about the Landmark Conference. I know Catholic has played well and it's good for them, but I think we need to see the Scrantons and the Drews and the others really kind of come off and be consistently good in March to understand just how good basketball is there. It's all an optics thing, right? We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll button up the show, do some answering of questions, talk about what's up ahead in the next few weeks of Hoopsville. All ahead. You're watching Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA studios.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit NABC.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC1927. That's NABC.com or NABC1927 on social media.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all.
It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us. All of us.
To stop sexual assault. Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
If I lose, I'll respond with respect.
If I win, I'll back it up with humility.
If I fail, I'll rise up with honor. It's tough for us to put it all on the line.
Don't undo my hard work with poor sportsmanship.
Respect. It's the name of the game.
Coach of the Year. Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
I used to never really talk, ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong.
Forget it. I've cut off the ad break there. I just wanted to get back to the show there. Hope you're enjoying it. I missed this during the last segment with Adam Venzel from Arcadia, but two of his players, Chris Williams and Darius Isaac, were chipping at him in the YouTube live stream. Chris wrote about maybe 10 minutes into the interview or so, he goes, "Coach, we got practice right now." And then Darius about 5 minutes later, "Coach, where you at? We started stretching." I got to check with Adam now to find out if indeed his team was already starting practice when he was on the show. For the record, he said that any time was fine, so we booked him for that slot. Now I'm going to go back and find out what the truth is. Got more questions for us? You can join us on that live stream where Grayson, who asked the question earlier about Scranton, is there. He says, Lady Royals of Landmark Conference are the best team now at the number 1 seed in their conference tournament. Yes, Grayson, they're great in their conference, but they're number 5 overall in the NPI, and according to the experts, they're not moving past number 5. So I'll be honest with you, they're going to host the opening weekend, but at this juncture, unless there's some major upsets, they're not hosting the second weekend. There's a chance that Johns Hopkins loses between now and the end of the regular season. I think they're exposed. I think I've said this on the show. I think their issue is going to come down to rebounding and inside play. McDaniel showed that. Gettysburg nearly took advantage of that to get a win. I think it's really only those two who could take advantage of it. I don't think anybody else in the conference is going to have a shake at that. So get to the conference tournament, you got to play McDaniel and or Gettysburg, and Hopkins could lose. Would that open the door? I don't know. Scott Peterson says, and even Ryan Scott says, a loss above them might not even do it. Oshkosh is already sitting with 2 losses and are way ahead of Scranton. And then you've got W&L. They'd have to lose, and that's certainly possible. W&L could lose in the ODAC tournament. That is one of the more challenging tournaments, the way it's structured. I think it's set the same way the men and women are in the NCAA tournament. So I think the women play Thursday, Saturday, Sunday this year. So that's at least an advantage in Salem. But I could be talking out of turn because I know they altered the tournament a bit in the ODAC. So don't quote me on that. I think it's played out more. I'm going to go look that up while I have it, because that's the old format, and I'm not sure I have that right overall. But anyway, they'd have to have a lot of teams lose ahead of them for them to be in a hosting position the second weekend. But they will host in the opening weekend. But to be honest with you, as good as Scranton is, their schedule kind of betrays them. And the Landmark Conference hasn't been as tough this year as we thought it would be. Catholic is good. Susquehanna is good, but they have not had the championships. I'm sorry, the challenges that they've had in that conference of years past. So no disrespect, but I don't see it playing out where Scranton gets into the top 4 at this juncture. Quick follow-up. Women's basketball quarterfinals are on Wednesday this year. Men are on Tuesday. And then the semis are on Friday for the men, women for Saturday. Championship game Saturday for the men, Sunday for the women. So the ODAC has altered their tournaments, and I like this. They also aren't playing as late now on Sunday. Now play a 2 p.m. game on Sunday, so that's a nice offset there. So the tournament is structured differently now. All quarterfinals are now, that's right, they did this last year, and I'm remembering it now. Quarterfinals in the ODAC are on the highest seeds, 1 through 4's home floors on men Tuesday, the 24th, women Wednesday, the 25th. Then the semifinals Friday for the men at 5 and 7:30, Saturday for the women at 2 and 4:30 with the men's title game at 8, and then Sunday the women's title game at 2. All of those at the Salem Civic Center in Salem, Virginia. So again, no disrespect, Grayson, if you're still tuned in. Scranton women will host the opening weekend. I think it would take an absolute insanity for something to change that. And listen, insanity is certainly D3's calling card. But I don't see a reason why they wouldn't. But second weekend, I don't think they host. They're a good team. Their NPI's betraying them. If you got other questions, you can email us or you can tweet us or you can do whatever. We're here for the questions. And this might be for the committee chair, but I'll take it on. Ronk, another Scranton says men are number 1 in NPI in the landmark ahead of Catholic, 24th in D3, so we have a chance at hosting as of right now. No, you don't, Ron. They're unlikely to win either game this week, but as of right now, they have a chance at hosting instead of women. No, they don't, Ron. Not at 24, they don't. No. You got to be 16. You got to be top 16 on the men's side to have any chance of hosting, and 24 doesn't get them there. The Scranton men... And losing this weekend would end that possibility all in a row. And I'm going to look up landmark right now. According to, that's efficiency. Here's NPI. Yes, they're number 1 in the conference. Their NPI is 60. What do you? I can't remember. Oh, here we go. This is what I'm looking for. National top 16 opportunity, Ron, for men's Scranton. 2.3% according to the Snyder brothers. 2.3% chance of being in the top 16 to assure yourself a hosting opportunity in the NCAA tournaments. Your AQ is only 9%. Your at-large, if you need it, is 72%. Your at-large, if you only make the quarterfinals, is 27%. If you only make the semifinals, is 68%. And if you make the finals, is 92%. And you don't even know if they're going to get through the weekend. But no, Scranton men will... I don't see anywhere on there that they get a hosting opportunity. They're 24th according to the NPI data from the Snyder brothers. And there is more problems, by the way, with the data on the men's side in terms of, you have to understand, quick side note, men do this weighted measure for home and away, 1.2 for away games, 0.8 for home games, but conference it's 1.1 and 0.9 instead. And this is a measure that is given everybody. Now, men's basketball is the only one that utilizes it, but it's given everybody when we moved to NPI. It was an option for everybody. But the NCAA continues to screw up this data. We were told it was fixed. It's not fixed. There was a team earlier UMHB, 42 in one metric, 47 in the other. You're not that far off by a slight problem. But back to the point, I'm going to the Landmark Conference on the men's side, on the NCAA. That's weird. They've got Scranton 5th. Oh, I'm on the women's side. Apologies. Whoops. I was like, what are we doing here? That's not right. Here we go. I was on the women's side. So again, the women are 5th. Men's side, Scranton is 24. Yeah, so 24 lines up with what the Snyder brothers have. Ron, you're not hosting at 24. No chance. Unless you need 8 different hosts need to not be hosting on a weekend that is the men's priority? Don't see it happening, Ron. Sorry. I just don't see that happening. I know we're talking a lot of Scranton here, but I stirred it up with the question about the women. How are the men going to be hosting? They aren't going to improve on 24. Their best chance at a top 16 is 2.3%. It's not a factor. I'll bury it. I'll email you, Ron, if you didn't hear my answer. What is the Little East Conference, Grayson? It's the conference in the northeastern corner that includes Southern Maine. Grayson, go to d3hoops.com. I mean this all seriously. Go to d3hoops.com. We have every conference listed, every school listed. Little East Conference has been around for a long time. Rhode Island College has played very well in that conference over the years. You also had Southern Maine, who is darn good this year, who used to be a darn good team in the past. This is just women. Keene State is in the conversation this year. That is a very good conference of women's basketball. Mass Dartmouth has been good in that conference in years past. The bottom is not great, but a lot of bottom of the Landmark Conference isn't great. Lily's conference is a good conference. But remember, when it comes to bracketing, it's a 500-mile. They have only 9 in women's basketball. Okay. You'd only need 6 minimum, Grayson, to have an AQ. Landmark happens to have 10 because of football. Landmark was an 8-team conference for years. Since its inception was an 8-team conference. Then it became 9 when Elizabethtown joined. Now it's whatever the heck it is now. Numbers don't matter. I mean, if you want to play that game, the ODAC is monster huge. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Minimum you need is 6 teams to have an AQ. And Little East has 9. Okay. Landmark was 9 too for a long time. I'm double checking the count on the Landmark because they had a couple of changes over the years that honestly drove me a little crazy. And football has been the leader in that clubhouse for a while. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10 teams. You go back to 1920 in the Landmark season 1920, 2019, 2020, I should say. They were an 8-team conference in the Landmark. Scranton Catholic, Moravian, Elizabethtown, Drew, Susquehanna, Juniata, and Catholic. You go back to 13-14, it was an 8-team conference instead of Elizabethtown, it was Merchant Marine. 9 teams isn't a big deal, Grayson. It's actually pretty common. Division III schools or conferences tend to be between 7 and 9 on average. You have some bigger ones. The ODAC comes to mind. The MIAC comes to mind. The absolutely bonkers UEC, which used to be 2 different conferences. The UEC used to be the NEAC and the CSAC. They merged, had some closures, had some additions, and they're still a monster conference. They should have stayed split. And I think you're going to see a split coming. I think some of those schools are frustrated. The idea of getting 2 bids was removed from conversation because they were never going to get 2 bids that big. The PAC is a 12-team conference now. They wanted 2 bids. That's not going to happen. The old USA South used to be 16 or larger. They never got 2 bids, so they finally split, and that's why we have the SAA. Not the SAA, sorry, wrong one. CSS. SAA was a spinoff of the SCAC when it was monstrously huge. So yeah. Listen, I know there's a lot of people who want all the best for Scranton. Women will host opening weekend. Men will be on the road if they get to the tournament. And I don't know if they get to the tournament. And on the women's side, they'll host that opening weekend, but not the second. So there you go. Any other questions? Message us, tweet us, do what you need to do. Let's talk about programming that is up ahead, shall we? Thursday show's 12 Eastern time, followed by, we already have guests lined up for that show, including one where we're going to jump into the GNAC conference race and talk to 2 teams that have similar names. It all comes down to Saturday, assuming they get through Wednesday okay. But even if they don't get through Wednesday okay, it's going to come down to Saturday. So we're going to talk to 2 coaches there. Going to talk to a couple women's programs around the nation. We're still locking up all of our guests. There's one that I'm surprisingly have not heard from. So we'll talk to them. We'll figure that all out. And then 7 p.m. Eastern time, we will talk Top 16's inclusive show. Again, if you got questions for our committee chairs, email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com. Exclusive conversation with them. After we see the top 16s, we'll talk to them about how the bracketing will start to come together 10 days from the tournament. We'll talk about hosting. You're going to have essentially less than 24 hours to get your hosting paperwork in after our conversation if you haven't done so already. And we'll answer any of your other questions that you may send your way. Email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com. That is hoopsville@d3sports.com. We'll get your questions answered the best we can. We'll also talk to them about the timing of everything from the moment the teams know they're in the NCAA tournament through the first game gets tipped off. What is the timing of everything along the way? How does site reps get chosen, et cetera, et cetera. That's all coming up on Thursday, starting at 12 with our normal show, then at 7 p.m. with the Top 16's exclusive show. Last few years, we revealed the top 16s. Obviously, can't do that anymore because the NPI is already doing it all week long, but we'll still have some fun with that. And then coming up Let's see. What is it? On Monday. That's what I'm trying to think of. Next Monday, we'll have a 12 Eastern show, and then we'll have our new Top 25. So Top 25 show tonight, 8:30 Eastern for anybody who is buymeacoffee.com/Hoopsville. Thank you, Ed, for signing up to become a role player. You'll be able to watch that show live tonight. That's Hoopsville at d3sports.com. Buymeacoffee.com/Hoopsville. I was doing 3 different things there at the same time. Buymeacoffee.com/Hoopsville. Sign up for the role player or higher membership. You'll gain access to our top 25 conversation. On the women's side, I will be the foil for Riley Zayas. On the men's side, Howard Herman joining us to do battle. That's not really what they do. With Ryan Scott, we'll talk our dubious, which is a team that we think is maybe should be ranked, but maybe ranked way too high. We'll have dubious selections. We'll have deep dive selections, maybe a team that's barely getting any votes or not getting any votes at all, but should be in the top 25. Maybe even our voters aren't voting for them, but they're thinking about them. So we'll bring them into the conversation in our deep dive. And our debatable is a catch-all. Hey, here's a team I'd like to talk about. We haven't talked about them. So we'll have that coming up all tonight on the Top 25 show. Then Thursday, noon for our normal show, 7 p.m. for our Top 16 show. Then next Monday, we'll have another 12 p.m. show, and then we'll have another 8:30 p.m. show, Top 25. That may be our last Top 25 show. I'm debating about doing one probably March 3rd, not doing it on bracket Monday, but doing it on Tuesday instead. The idea being we have top 25 teams to talk about now entering the NCAA tournament. Do these rankings hold going into the tournament? That might be the twist. We might not do dubious, deep dive, and debatable, but maybe on March 3rd we do some type of show. I got to look at my calendar and see if this is even feasible. And then we're into the NCAA tournament. And I will tell you now, I'm going to have to do a couple shows from the road. I have to go to Florida for spring training for work reasons for Major League Baseball, the job that I have during the baseball season. I now have multiple jobs with Major League Baseball, for anybody curious. So I'm going to have to do a couple shows coming out of the opening weekend and into the second weekend where I'm doing them from Florida. So we're hoping. The other option is somebody else does a show, but that's a lot of work for all of them. So I'm hoping to be able to put this together. It'll have to be a Monday evening show on that first Monday after the tournament has started, and then the Thursday evening show before I fly home the next morning from my hotel. I think I can make it work. I think we can get this to figured out where I can do the show from those locations. It'll look a little different. It won't look as clean. It won't look as fancy with all of this, but hopefully we can still do a pretty good bang up show live. Those will be 7 p.m. shows most likely. We'll cross that bridge a little bit later. So there you go. I think we're pretty much a wrap. Ron says, my point is that Scranton men's basketball chance of hosting is non-zero, but no chance. Ron, I'm going to say it's no chance. When it's 2.3%, you even make the top 16, and you're already hedging the fact that they may not get through this week at 2-0, I think their chances are zero. And 2.3% from the Snyder brothers could change to zero tomorrow. So my point is I don't think they've got a chance, Ron. I'm sorry. I don't. If you're already saying they may not even get through the week unscathed, then I don't even think they get through the NCAA, the Landmark Conference unscathed. I think their chance of a hosting are zero. It's going to take a miracle. Let's put it that way. Yeah, so Zach Snyder actually said, I didn't even see this. Zach Snyder says it right above. Scranton men with 2.4% top 16 odds probably means running the table plus getting help. I'm sorry. I'm putting that at miracle at best. Is it non-zero? Of course it's non-zero, but I'm putting it there like I don't see it. Let's take this out of the equation. If we're talking about this on Selection Sunday, fine. But for all intensive I can't even say it right, purposes right now, no. Women are hosting opening weekend at Scranton. Can we move on? Maybe it's on me to move on. So there you go, folks. That's a wrap of our show. I'm not sure what else to touch on today. We've had a really good one. I want to thank our guests and the sports information directors who helped us get it accomplished. From Mary Hardin-Baylor, Sam Patterson, from Kayla Waskow, from Johnson and Wales, Dino Porcic, and from Arcadia, Adam Venzel. So I want to thank their sports information directors as well. Pete, sorry, I got to click on my note. Pete and Adam Planamento, not Adam Van Zelst, let's see. I'm confusing with some others here. I apologize. Sarah, and where's my other one? I've lost it. Sorry. I'm trying to find all my notes. Did I mention everybody? No. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I did mention everybody. We're going to wrap things up. We'll be back on the air on Thursday, 12 Eastern, or actually, we'll be back on the air tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time with the Top 25 show, followed by Thursday's show at 12 Eastern time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, followed by the Top 16 show at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Again, if you have a question for our committee chairs, email us, hoopsville at d3sports.com. That's hoopsville at d3sports.com. We've also been sending out videos, not today because we had so much content, but we'll send out more videos of gifts and jerseys and swag and whatever that we've received in the Hoopsville studios. We got a couple more coming out this week. If more packages arrive, we'll start putting those together, sending them out the door as well. If you want to have any interest in sending us a jersey, swag, gear, whatever, email us also at hoopsville at d3sports.com. Unless you know my personal email address, you can send that one. Send it to there as well. No problems at all. Thanks to everybody who joined the show. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. As much as the Scranton conversation was getting a little old, I appreciated the back and forth, gentlemen. Thank you very much for that. And we'll look forward to catching up with you down the road. Thanks to, by the way, one of the Snyder jumping in the conversation there. Always fun to chat with that. They've got great shows. Zach and Matt, you should check them out as well. We'll have Matt Snyder on the show Thursday to talk a lot about it, but Zach and Matt do a good job. So does Bob Quillman and the rest. A lot of good content around Division III. I know there's a lot, so I appreciate the time you put into the show that we put on the air here at Hoopsville. So in that case, thank you to our friends at D3Hoops.com, the Women's Basketball Coaches Association as well for their help. You've been watching Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA studios. If you want to talk Division III basketball, you've got to watch Hoopsville and support us at buymeacoffee.com/Hoopsville. Thanks again, Ed, for your help. Alexa, turn off studio.